Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco. Here. Councilmember Klein.
Here.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
Here.
Councilmember Hilton.
Here.
Councilmember Marks. Councilmember Ramirez. Here. Mayor Bozo.
Here. Item 1.3, City Clerk's posting of the agenda, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This agenda was posted on Friday, February 6th at 3:16 p.m.
Okay, 1.4, the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Hilton, and we have no invocation this evening.
Please rise and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to item number 1.6, orders of the day. We are going to move item 6.2 and 7.1 to after item number 3. And furthermore, I just found out Councilmember Marks is not going to be able to make it this evening, so we are going to go ahead and pull item. It's not on my list here anymore. Help me out here.
Future council?
8.1. Thank you very much. We're going to pull 8.1 and continue it to a further date. Thank you for the help. Okay, we're going to jump right to it then. We're going to do employee introductions. I'm going to make one other change. I am going to do the first employee introduction. And I'm going to ask this gentleman to my left to come join me at the podium. Okay, thank you very much. After 7 months process of an extensive outreach and recruitment, I am happy to introduce our new city administrator today. We look forward to utilizing your experiences, your expertise, your leadership, and your vision to help elevate everyone in this organization who works here so that we can in turn reach out and meet the livelihoods, to improve the livelihoods, the lifestyles, and the lives of as many people in the city of Gilroy as we possibly can. Matt brings 25 years of experience of working for the city of San Jose, Los Gatos, Cupertino, and recently as the city manager of Saratoga. And ironically, I did say that we did a very large, extensive outreach to find our new city administrator, but I'm also happy to announce that Matt actually is from Gilroy. And Matt has lived in Gilroy since he was a young child, and he raised his family here, and he's married, and they still live in this town together. And I believe it's almost 50 years since you've been living in Gilroy, which is incredible because you only look 40. Yeah, so,
Good recovery.
Yeah, thank you. Based on that, I am very happy to announce to you the new city administrator of Gilroy, Matt Morley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, great to serve the City Council and all the hard work that you do. I'm so excited to be here. I had the opportunity, it's one that you just can't pass up when it comes before you to work in the community where you grew up. That means so much to you and created so much of the opportunity that I've had. So I look forward to being able to give back for many years, much as the community has given to me. So thank you all for the opportunity. I look forward to working with you. And thank you to the community as well.
Thank you. So take it away, Matt. Next item on the agenda, you're going to go ahead and introduce our new Economic Development Director.
Our new Economic Development Director. It's a great pleasure to be able to introduce Raisa to you all. Interesting that I get to do it in my first day, and she's actually got tenure on me by 7 days, so well ahead in the run there. But had a great opportunity to meet with Raisa coming in, and super impressed by her experience. She officially started, like I said, last Monday. She's got 25 years of experience in the public sector, including 20 in economic development field. She spent a lot of time in the North Bay, in Santa Rosa and Marin, with great experience there. And then I've heard that even on a personal level, she has 2 daughters and is a serial crafter, which I think with my family would fit in nicely, and is always up for an adventure. So very good. Welcome, Raisa, to Gilroy.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I just want to thank you for welcoming me into the City of Gilroy family. Working in the public sector is a privilege that's not lost on me. And so I look forward to working for and with all of you in the years to come. I'm thrilled to be here as a resident and staffer for all of 7 days so far. It feels like home. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And next, we will have employee introductions.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, members of the committee. Harjit Sangha, the finance director with the City of Gilroy, and I have the pleasure of introducing Adrian Jimenez, who joins the finance department as our new information technology systems administrator. Adrian has over 7 years of IT experience supporting mission-critical systems across healthcare, agriculture, managed services, as well as the public sector. He comes to us from the City of San Jose's fire department, where he supported over 30 fire stations, working closely with the firefighters and the cybersecurity teams to strengthen the infrastructure, modernize their systems, as well as improve overall security posture. Adrian possesses a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with concentration in algorithm and data structures, artificial intelligence, databases, and human-computer interactions. Adrian has also completed multiple cybersecurity and Microsoft Azure certifications. In his work, Adrian is known for approaching every challenge with a collaborative, service-oriented mindset. On a personal note, Adrian and his wife currently live in the city of Santa Clara, and they recently celebrated their first anniversary together. Outside of work, Adrian enjoys learning French, visiting the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and searching for new bookstores to explore. With that, please join me in welcoming Adrian to the City of Gilroy.
Thank you, Harjo. Thank you, all of you. I'm really happy about this opportunity. I'm excited to work with all of you who work together to make Gilroy a great place to be. So thank you.
Next employee introductions will be by John Dowdy, Public Works Director.
Thought so. Thank you, Mayor, council members, community. I'm pleased to bring up Ryan Grimaldo. Come on up. You stay seated. You wait your turn. I am thrilled to have Ryan. He began work with us as a part-time city maintenance worker. He's in the streets section. He has previous experience with the city of Morgan Hill and the city of San Jose. He is a resident of Gilroy, and he brings to us enthusiasm and willingness to work and deal with a lot of the city clean work that we're trying to deal with. He's going to be working in the downtown area, dealing with the parking lots, Gourmet Alley, all the things that we get a lot of interest in from the community. And he's going to be focused also on the See-Click Fix Gilroy Connect work. And he is involved in ministry. He likes to go bouldering, snowboarding, and he also is a pickleballer. So one of these days, we'll see how good he is with the new courts. It is my pleasure to introduce Ryan Grimaldo. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for welcoming on board the City Council and everyone here. Just want to thank everyone for being so welcoming and so friendly, for welcoming on board. It's a great privilege to be here, to work alongside you, and hopefully I could get to know you guys more. And yeah, thank you so much.
It is my pleasure to introduce Pedro Porras. And I couldn't drill my R, sorry. We were working on that before the deal. Pedro comes from a background of 10 years with commercial plumbing. So he has also done work in the residential side of the plumbing world as well. Pedro moved from Mexico when he was 16 and spent the next 15 years in the city of Gilroy. He attended Gilroy High, Gavilan, so he is very familiar with the community. He is with our streets section, and along with doing some of the work that was noted for Ryan, he will also be dealing with more of the paving, the pothole work, dealing with street trees, those issues and functions that the streets section addresses day in and day out. He has 3 daughters, ages 9, 6, and 3. He recently relocated to Hollister. Sorry, but he's in Hollister. Not a Gilroy resident, but he's close by. And he also likes to go out in the community and is very familiar. But he also likes to work in the outdoors. And beyond that, Pedro and his wife are both very big into education. And when she finishes her psychology degree, he's going to go back to school for his studies in marine biology. So the things you learn and find out about new staff. So thank you and welcome, Pedro.
Sorry, I had to write it down. Thank you all, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm thankful for the City of Gilroy for giving me this job opportunity. Like John mentioned, half of my life I grew up in Gilroy. And now I'm willing to work my full potential to make Gilroy a better place and a safer place for all of us. I promise to do my best, and I'm happy to be part of the Gilroy community. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 2, presentations to council. This is public comment by members of the public on items not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. We have some public comment.
Yes, I have 3 speakers currently. Deanne Everton, followed by Bill O'Connor, and Greg Felios.
Okay, while they're coming up, I just want to remind people in case they came in late, item 8.1, which is the Wayland and Hand Street parking lots, has been pulled, so that will not be on the agenda tonight. That will be later in case you're looking for that. Take it away, Deanne.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City of Gilroy Council members. I'm Deanne Everton, Executive Director for Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley, and I want to thank you again for awarding this year's $149,000 in CDBG capital funds to support the work of preserving safe, livable, and affordable housing for low-income neighbors in Gilroy. This funding allows us to complete critical repairs that help older adults age in place safely, allow people with disabilities to live with dignity, and support families struggling to keep their homes sustainable amid rising costs. This year, Rebuilding Together committed to assisting 12 low-income households, not with cosmetic fixes, but with vital repairs like replacing failing roofs, fixing damaged plumbing and unsafe electrical systems, and installing accessibility modifications like grab bars, ramps, and walk-in showers. While our commitment remains strong, we do want you to know of the predicament the delayed HUD contract has put us in. We have continued to qualify our Gilroy applicants with 24 clients in queue, all with much needed and long awaited repairs. But without a signed contract, we have only been able to assist in a limited capacity with a few urgent repairs. And while we've been assured the contract is imminent, we anticipate further wait times given the new requirements that will take time to implement. Given that we are well into Q3 of this fiscal year, we want to be realistic about what we can accomplish once everything is ready. Make no mistake, we are sitting on go, but the challenges presented this year with delayed and new HUD requirements have been beyond our control. We thank you for your continued support and trust in the work that we do to preserve Gilroy's existing affordable housing stock, a top goal of the consolidated plan. While this year's challenges have caused significant delays in service delivery, we want to assure you that our commitment has not wavered, and we look forward to our continued partnership as we work towards safe and healthy housing for all of Gilroy residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill O'Connor.
Council, this past fall, I had the opportunity to attend the Gilroy Community Police Academy. This was a series of presentations and demonstrations over 10 Wednesday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. The academy was led by Sergeant Jesus Chuy Cortez and hosted by volunteers in policing who provided 20 attendees dinner before every session. This academy is offered twice a year, once in English and once in Spanish. We had sessions presented by the involved officers about the organization structure and the various units, patrol, traffic, parking, detective, school, and unsheltered. We had sessions about SWAT, dispatch, drone operations, K-9, and mounted patrol. We learned about the committee that helps officers with traumatic experiences. We had sessions on lethal and non-lethal weapons, as well as experiencing a shoot, no-shoot exercise. We toured the police facilities and saw the various vehicles the department uses. It was certainly time well spent in my mind. I have two strong takeaways from this program. First is the strong sense of a high morale in the Gilroy Police Department. Presenters indicated their happiness with being with Gilroy PD and indicated their intention to eventually retire from the department. I talked with a friend who is a Gilroy police officer, and he confirmed this. He said many officers have come from other departments taking less pay than they could get elsewhere, but preferred to be here in Gilroy and spend the rest of their career here. The second takeaway is that our police department is very lean, and that is not necessarily a good thing. I came away thinking we didn't have the number of officers a city of 60,000 should have. I went online to the Bureau of Justice Statistics and found that the average ratio of sworn officers in cities between 50,000 and 100,000 is 1.6 sworn officers for 1,000 residents. That would suggest Gilroy should have somewhere around 96 sworn officers. I think the current number is about 70 sworn officers, and I just learned from the captain that it's 69 at this time. That is about 1.2 sworn officers for 1,000 residents, or 75% of what you might expect. I understand a city cannot have what it cannot afford. There is no way I'm asking you to add 20-some officers at this point. I would just ask that you keep in mind how lean your department is and make incremental increases as opportunities may arise. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Greg is next.
Honorable City Council and the public. Two quick positive shout-outs. Last Saturday, we had coffee with the mayor, and what was neat to see was all of the different council members who were also there. And it was nice seeing, so it was not just coffee with the mayor, it was coffee with the mayor and the council members. It was a great opportunity for the public to have some interaction with council members. Under normal circumstances, like with this is public comment. We can say what we want, but it's not under the proper procedure to have feedback. But there on Saturdays was a chance for feedback and for the council members to hear what the public was concerned about and to be able to have some give and take. So if you guys get a chance, if you get a chance, please go see Coffee with the next to Coffee with the Mayor, and council members, please come. This is great. This is the opportunity for you guys to meet with your community. Number two, last Wednesday was the joint meeting between Gilroy City Council and the Gilroy Unified School District. And to have those two groups work together, these are the people that care most about our community. People working with our students, and then people working with our general community. And having them work together and listening to what each other is doing was great. What was also great was that they're working on a working together with a joint use situation where the school and the community and the city can work together with providing opportunities for uses in the parks and in the schools as well. So working together is something that is an opportunity for everyone to get involved. I mean, this is a chance for everyone to be involved in the community by having the two work together. It's a collaboration, and having the collaboration is a word I'm going to be using in future public comment sections, because I like to see the collaboration between the city council and the school district, and hopefully we can all work together to get people involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
I have no further speakers.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 3, reports of council members. Councilmember Bracco.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Fugazi.
No report.
Councilmember Hilton.
Thank you. From the ABAG General Assembly, I'm one of the delegates there. So the Association of Bay Area Governments is the official comprehensive planning agency for the San Francisco Bay Area region. ABAG's mission is to strengthen cooperation and coordination among local governments. I'll be working towards a General Assembly and Business Conference in 2026, where we will determine policy and adopt the annual budget and work plan. In addition, the General Assembly reviews policy recommendations from the ABAG Executive Board, establishes annual membership fees, and reviews the bylaws of the ABAG Association. From Santa Clara County LAFCO, the board directed staff to increase the budget and reissue the RFP for countywide water and wastewater service review, which will begin spring of 2026 and be completed by February of 2027. In Santa Clara County, service reviews are intended to serve as a tool to help LAFCO and the public and other agencies better understand public service governance and delivery and evaluate options for the provisions of efficient and effective public services. The Santa Clara County Mosquito and Vector Control District now faces a significant structural deficit as revenues have not kept pace with rising operational costs. The district projects a $2.7 million shortfall, primarily due to payroll costs that have risen 32% since 2020, while assessment revenue increases only by 12%. The district currently operates under 2 benefit assessments approved in 1996 and 2005. Without additional revenue, the district may need to reduce services by approximately 30%, with further cuts in subsequent years. District staff recommended pursuing a 2026 assessment ballot to increase revenue. On January 13th, 2026, the County Board of Supervisors, acting as the district's governing board, accepted the engineer's report and initiated a mail-in ballot process to seek property owner approval for a new benefit assessment, and future increases would be limited to annual CPI. Education and outreach is happening now, and mail-in ballot will be from March 11th through May 5th. Lastly, to anyone that's visiting the admin wing in City Hall, please feel free to stop by and check out the council member's office, where we have on loan from the Gilroy Museum an aerial view of Gilroy published by F.W. Blake. He's the editor of the Gilroy Dispatch right around 1885. F.W. Blake sold these prints as a promotion for the Gilroy Dispatch newspaper and booster clubs. My plan is to continue the great partnership we have with the Gilroy Museum and switch out pieces every few months. Thank you.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Klein.
I have no report.
Okay, I have a few things to report from the Gilroy Gardens Board of Directors. First thing to report is the Garlic Festival has, and the Gilroy Gardens have made a commitment to each other that the Garlic Festival will be back at the South County Event Center down below Gilroy Gardens this July at the end of the month, like it was last year. Secondly, from the Gilroy Gardens, something that they're very excited about, there's an association called the International Association of Amusement Park Operators, and the Gilroy Gardens was the Brass Ring of Excellence. They won the Brass Ring of Excellence Award in Best of Food and Beverages. And this is an international association which includes Disneyland, SeaWorld, all of the big entertainment amusement parks, and the Gilroy Gardens staff is very excited for winning that award just recently. Additionally, from the Gilroy Gardens is not an easy operation to run. It's run by a nonprofit board organization. They oversee it with a paid staff. And this past year, the Gilroy Gardens saw a dip in their attendance coming their way, but they figured out a way through their creative marketing and business strategies that their revenue is actually up almost 20%, even though their attendance is flat or slightly down. And because of that, the current relationship and agreement that the Gilroy Gardens has with the city of Gilroy is that they pay out a certain fee at the end of the year based on a formula. And the goal to pay for the year of 2025 was about $100,000, and it looks like it will come in at twice that, so near $200,000. that is still unaudited. I need to make that disclaimer, but it does feel like that we're on a path that the Gilroy Gardens will be able to pay out to the city of Gilroy $200,000 or close to it. And finally, between Gilroy Gardens and the city of Gilroy, Gilroy Gardens and the city of Gilroy have been working on a long-term lease for a while, a little bit of a long-term. And it feels like we're getting towards the end of that conversation. And hopefully sometime soon there will be more to report out on a more of a long-term agreement between the city of Gilroy and Gilroy Gardens Board. Secondly, from another board that I'm on, the South County Youth Task Force. This past week, there was a community conversation with District Attorney Jeff Rosen, where there was representatives from the county agencies, including City of Morgan Hill PD, Gilroy PD, City of Morgan Hill, City of Gilroy, Gilroy Unified School District, Morgan Hill Unified School District, and many other agencies. And the discussion was centered on public safety trends that impact South Santa Clara County only. And much of what was discussed there, it was a get-together where we can just have a conversation, sort of like Mr. Filios was talking about the coffee with the mayor. It was just a back and forth between the different members of the public agencies that were there and the district attorney. So he got to hear directly from us. And some of the things that he heard about down here in South County is more activities for teens and more resources for enforcement for violent offenders and repeat offenders. And those are just some of the things that we're talking about. It was a great discussion, but those are some of the things that we left him with down here in South County. So there'll be more to report on that. Speaking of South County Youth Task Force, I know that last week, I mentioned to you guys that part of South County Youth Task Force is a diversion. They do diversions for youth. And one of the things that they offer is a late night gym, which happens right here at Wheeler Auditorium every Thursday evening. And I had a chance to attend that 2 Thursdays ago. And what I found there is that it's just not sports. You know, I made an assumption myself even that thinking that this was just going to go and play sports. But when I got there, what I found is about 35 young people from Gilroy. They do this every single Thursday. They get together and have dinner with one of the nonprofit organizations that is tasked from the South County Youth Task Force to run this. And this happens to be Catholic Charities of South County, Santa Clara County Catholic Charities. They run it. So they have dinner for them. They have a check-in where everybody sits around. They talk about their highs and lows of the day, talk about what's going on in their life, and then they get into the activities. And the activities that I found there were not only basketball and futsal, indoor soccer, but there was some kids broke off that weren't into sports. They did puzzles. Other kids do video games. There was even kids that brought their own guitars. They sat there and restrung their guitars for a while, and then they had a little jam session in the corner. So it was a really nice environment. As I did mention, I decided to play basketball that evening, and I played 3 games, and they paired me up with, apparently I was the tallest guy there, so they paired me up with their tallest guy, who was about my height, but probably came in at about 230 pounds, and he put the beat down on me, and you know, when you do things you haven't done for a while, the next day you're really sore. I was sore walking home. So it was a great evening, and I'm looking forward to doing that again. And finally, this is not one of the boards that I'm on, but I am going to talk about the weather really quick. As you guys know, I talk about agriculture in South County, and I'm excited to announce that rain is returning. And tomorrow and this weekend, there was a lot of rain. Let's turn off our sprinklers because we need to preserve every single drop we can for our agriculture community. So thank you very much. That's my report. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item 6.2, appointments of a planning commissioner to fill 1 remaining open seat and selection of appointment of library commissioners to fill 1 new vacancy. Take it away, Kim.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll give a brief update on this. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So at the January 26, 2026 City Council meeting, the City Council considered appointments to the Planning Commission. Following interviews, the vote resulted in a tie between 2 candidates, Britt Smith and Payman Kay, and no appointment was finalized. Since that meeting, Britt Smith has withdrawn her application, leaving Payman Kay as the remaining candidate for appointment for the Planning Commission vacancy. In addition, while the Council recently filled all Library Commission seats, Commissioner Lowry has since resigned. creating a vacancy with a term ending December 31st, 2029. Two previously interviewed candidates, Jan Guffey and Janet Lee, are eligible and available for appointment to the Library Commission. So we will hear from Janet Lee and Jan Guffey. If you want to just come up to the podium and give a little refresher for council, or you can come up to the table. Jan, do you want to come up as well?
I think, was your name first, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, council and general public. My name is Janet Lee. Just to recap, I'm a high school science teacher. Applied for the position because we know that if you want participation and you want other people, you have to get involved. So leading the way in that sense. And then applied because I know you needed more applicants. So here to help support that and build literacy and put different faces on this committee.
Hi, my name is Jan Guffey, and when I left last time after the first interview, I was thinking that our Gilroy County Library is really a jewel of our community. People are going in and out of that building all the time, all kinds of people, finding all kinds of resources there and fun reading, which is mostly what I do. So I just did want to review the vision of the Santa Clara County Library District. If I'm appointed, I hope to continue that vision. So the vision is to aspire to be an inclusive space where everyone feels welcomed, supported in their lifelong learning, and energized to help us evolve as a community, and to work to create a world in which access to knowledge, resources, and opportunities is guaranteed to all. So if I'm appointed, I just hope to continue that vision for Santa Clara County Library. I forgot to mention too that one of my favorite songs is "Marion the Librarian" from the Music Man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys can return to your seats. Thank you so much. Okay, so we will go ahead and take a vote on these two members that are running for the Library Commission, unless there's any questions really quick. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a vote.
Okay. Councilmember Bracco? Councilmember Fugazzi?
Jan Guffey.
Councilmember Hilton?
Janet Lee.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Jan Guffey.
Councilmember Klein?
Jan Guffey.
And Mayor Bozo.
Jan Guffey.
Okay, we have Jan Guffey with 5 total votes appointed to the Library Commission with a term ending December 31st, 2029.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Janet, for coming in quite a few times. And as I mentioned before, if you're interested in the Arts and Culture Commission, please let the clerk know that. Thank you very much. So moving on to the next one, as the city clerk just mentioned, one of the applicants withdrew. That leaves Payman Kodabande as the sole applicant at this point, and I'm just looking for a thumbs up for that appointment. Okay, Payman, there you go, Planning Commission. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Moving right along to item number 7.1, abatement of the 6th Street temporary encampment on APN 841-18089. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members. Our goal tonight is to provide background, description, describe current conditions, outline your options under existing law, and receive direction on how staff should proceed. Before getting into current conditions, I want to provide a brief background. In 2023, Council adopted ordinance number 2023-07. which established Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code, prohibiting camping in certain public rights-of-way and near city infrastructure. That ordinance grew out of council priorities beginning in 2022, including work of the Unhoused Ad Hoc Committee and extensive policy discussions over multiple years. At the time it was adopted, enforcement was discretionary and influenced by staffing and budget constraints, but enforcement has since become active. The 6th Street encampment was allowed temporarily in November 2025 as a short-term humanitarian accommodation in response to weather and holiday concerns, not as a change in policy and not as a lawful camping site. It was communicated to the occupants at that time that the location would be subject to abatement after the first of the year. This encampment did not originate at 6th Street. It is a result of successive displacements across multiple jurisdictions. From approximately 2020 through 2025, the group was located on Valley Water property near Tompkins Court during the COVID era. That site functioned as a managed encampment, requiring roughly 20 staff hours per week and additional staffing during closure. After Valley Water abated the site in late 2025, the group relocated the county property north of 6th Street, which was later abated by the county. They then attempted to relocate into the state right-of-way under Highway 101, where CHP immediately directed them to vacate due to safety concerns. On November 15, 2025, immediately before forecasted storms and major holidays, the city made a discretionary and humanitarian decision to allow a temporary relocation to a small city-owned parcel on 6th Street. This was clearly communicated as short-term and subject to abatement after the first of the year. There are currently approximately 20 individuals residing at the site. Since the encampment was established, there have been no police or fire calls for service attributed to it. Complaints from surrounding businesses and residents have been minimal. City involvement has focused on monitoring, outreach, and sanitation. Most individuals are enrolled in the county entry system, with one having moved into the Ochoa shelter and 6 in the process of moving to interim housing. Public Works is providing trash service multiple times per week and managing portable restrooms at a cost of approximately $420 per month. The encampment is adjacent to a bicycle and pedestrian path, and at times the path has been partially obstructed, raising access and safety concerns. Chapter 5 of the Gilroy Municipal Code prohibits camping on city property within 100 feet of critical infrastructure. The 6th Street encampment is directly adjacent to the 6th Street Bridge and falls within a restricted area under that code. As such, this is not a lawful camping location. Council has the authority to either direct immediate enforcement or temporarily suspend enforcement at this specific site. Absent explicit council direction, staff is obligated to proceed with abatement consistent with Chapter 5. Staff recommends one of 2 options. Option number 1 is immediate abatement. Immediate abatement enforces the ordinance uniformly. It eliminates ongoing sanitation costs and reduces long-term infrastructure and liability exposure. It may, however, result in displacement without guaranteed housing options and requires coordinated outreach and notice. Option number 2 is temporary suspension up to 90 days. A temporary suspension would provide additional time for housing navigation and service engagement. It aligns with county service timelines, but does not guarantee housing placement. It would require a formal resolution, continued city cost, and continued liability exposure. It also raises precedent considerations regarding selection versus uniform enforcement. Staff is requesting clear policy direction tonight, specifically direction on whether to proceed with immediate abatement or the temporary suspension, enforcement of a period not to exceed 90 days. If council directs immediate abatement, staff will coordinate outreach, notice, and enforce consistent with the law. If council directs a suspension, we will need to adopt a resolution, continue sanitation and outreach efforts, and abate after the authorized period. Regardless of direction, staff will continue coordinating with county and nonprofit partners to support service engagement. We are seeking clarity so staff can proceed in a manner that is lawful, consistent, and aligned with council policy. I'm open up to questions if you have any.
Thank you. I will get to questions in a moment. But first, I'm going to have City Attorney Andy Faber report out on some of the questions he got earlier.
Sure. Mayor and City Council members, we've been asked several questions about the legal implications of proceeding tonight on this matter. The first question relates to whether there is some sort of liability for enforcing the ordinance or not enforcing the ordinance for a period of time. I look at this project, or not project, but the request for clarification of the council. It's not really a question of enforcing the ordinance so much as when the ordinance gets enforced, because either it will be enforced shortly or it will be enforced if the council gives a 90-day suspension of enforcement at that time. There is, generally speaking, no liability on the city for deciding to enforce an ordinance on a given day or not. There are immunities in the California statutes that immunize cities from liability for discretionary decisions. City employees who take discretionary decisions or don't are not liable for it, and neither is the city itself. For example, if you get pulled over for speeding, the fact that 800 other people drove by just as fast doesn't matter. The fact that they are not enforcing the speeding ordinance against those 800 people is not a cause of liability for the police, even if one of those 800 gets in a speeding accident. Similarly, if they decide not to enforce it all that day, there's no liability. So on that issue of whether the city has an obligation to enforce the ordinance and send out notices right away, or to wait some period of time up to 90 days, that is not a matter for which the city would be liable either way, however the decision is made. The second potential source of liability relates to injuries that might occur due to the encampment. For example, somebody is injured at the encampment. There might be a defective condition of the property, there might be an unevenness, there might be a fight, there might be all kinds of things that happen at the encampment due to the fact that it is an encampment. As to that, there is, of course, some potential liability because claims can always be made against the city for anything that happens on city property. We see this all the time for things that happen on city streets, including traffic accidents, limbs falling off trees onto people's cars, and so on. For the use of the sidewalks, people can make claims against the city when the sidewalks are uneven and they claim that they fell because of it. Similarly, our parks. People get into arguments at parks. People break their legs at parks. We had a case a few years ago where a big tree limb fell on someone who was picnicking under a tree and had very serious injuries. Questions can happen of people engaged in sports on parks and various other activities. So these kinds of claims on city-owned property all can exist. And if they occur in the next 90 days, if that's the council's decision on this property, it is certainly possible that a claim can be made against the city. The risk manager for the city, Leanne McPhillips, has checked with our insurance coverage, the municipal risk pool, and they have informed her that our normal coverage would apply. So it's, in my legal opinion, while any use of city property can lead to claims, and therefore there could be an increase in claims based on this use, that is nothing out of the ordinary as far as general city liability goes. So that concludes, I'm happy to answer questions, but that concludes my basic overview of city liability here.
Well, I have on here first for council questions would be Councilmember Fugazi and then Councilmember Klein. So why don't you go ahead, Councilmember Fugazi, you go ahead.
A couple of these are probably for Andy. I mean, first and foremost, if we have something that is an ordinance on the books to be enforced, how long can it be suspended before it's actually taken up? Obviously, there's funding issues that could limit enforcement on whatnot. But at what point does something have to or should come back to the council to get some kind of a ruling? Is this something that can be unilaterally decided by a city administrator and go on basically forever until you decide when you want to do it?
There's no general answer to that question. In fact, enforcement of our ordinances in general is discretionary. Code compliance is a perfect example where it's generally on a complaint basis and there is normally not proactive code compliance, and there's no liability for that. Here, in my opinion, as the ordinance says, temporarily suspending the abatement of the encampment for 90 days would not lead to legal issues, in my opinion.
So if it was just an ordinance, something like let's say our card room rules, they could suspend those, and that would be okay too. Or I don't understand where the line's drawn on which things can get suspended for what reasons and for how long.
Again, there's no general answer to that general question, and it depends on what kind of ordinance it is. It also depends on what you mean by suspending. For example, if police don't check on a card room and therefore they don't know if the card room is operating properly, there's not necessarily any liability for that for a given period of time. On the other hand, one wants to set up a system where the police, obviously, and the city staff enforce ordinances in some reasonable way. And I think that's why staff has brought this to the council, because staff felt that given that notices had already been sent out for abatement, but then people appeared at the council meeting arguing and requesting specifically a stay, that stay would be within the power of the city. It would be an appropriate thing to do if the council felt that way, but it wasn't something that the staff felt comfortable doing itself.
Okay, in terms of liability, back to that liability question, if the property is vacant versus the property having 21 individuals on it, one of those situations is clearly much more liability than the other, isn't it?
Liability issues are always fact-intensive. When you have vacant property and then someone climbs over a fence and is injured on the property and they get mad at the city, that can happen.
Sure, there's a whole lot of.
Well, I'm trying to answer your question. So it really depends on the facts of the issue. Probably this encampment somewhat increases the risk over having vacant property. I would think that's pretty much common sense.
Okay. Another question, I don't know if it's for the city administrator or the interim city administrator or whatnot, but as far as cost is concerned for the next 90 days, or even for historical last 90 days, what are we looking at in the total cost here to the city in time, meetings, time, not just the hard cost of dumping the porta potties, but we're talking about staff time just in general. I mean, I believe in maybe Captain Luke over there we also had patrols that were waiting in the Costco lot to basically be there, correct me if I'm wrong, in case there was some incidents, and there was some coordination that happened with Costco as well. So have we enumerated the total cost that having this camp would be to the city and historically and then going forward?
I don't have a total cost for you, but I can tell you for the police department perspective, we put in about 3 hours per week of staff time to this site specifically. Public Works is doing weekly trash pickups, and then they also pay the $420 a month for the bathrooms cleaning. As far as a dollar amount, I can't give you the exact dollar amount, but that gives you kind of an estimate of where we're looking.
Does that 3 hours include the patrols that were camping in the lot sometimes?
So that's just between calls for service, so that does not account for that.
Okay. But they could have been somewhere else waiting, obviously, so there is some trade-off there.
Yes.
Okay. And it calls for service in the area, in the general area. Are they the same before the encampment and the ancillary camps that showed up there, came about, or more? I mean, I only have citizen rims to go by, and it appeared to me that 3 months before seemed a little lighter. 3 months after, it seemed a little bit more. I didn't look in the exact types of calls, but maybe you can allude.
Realistically, they're pretty consistent throughout
Okay.
the year. Yeah.
So another question, you had mentioned that most residents are enrolled to get housing, but that means that not all of them are, right?
That is correct. There's some people that are resistant to the housing options.
And so if they're in 90 days, it's likely they're going to get abated anyway then.
You are correct.
Okay.
Can we do one more question with you, and then
Yeah.
we'll go on, and we'll jump back to you if you have more.
No, go ahead.
Councilmember Klein.
As far as precedent, is there any precedent setting with this, Andy? I know we talked about liabilities, but in terms of precedents with...
I would say legally, no. Now, anytime you take any action, somebody can always say, well, you took this action for that person or that group, and you should do it for me. So in an unofficial way, people often look at actions as precedent, but legally, no.
Okay. Now, I've kind of gone back and forth on this, but some of my questions, is the 90 days a magic number to get what they're looking for? Is that kind of what's being...
The 90 days was proposed by community members at the last council meeting. That's where we came up with that number.
Okay. And what are the measurables that we're going to use to gauge success in these 90 days? Just throwing a question out there.
It's a good question. I don't think we have measurables at this point in time. It's just going to give us more opportunity to give us devote more time to it.
I don't talk about there's one's gotten housing and there's 5.
One is in the Ochoa shelter.
Yeah.
And then 6 are on the list.
Okay. In a sense, that could be a measurable then
Sure.
in the success of that.
I think one of the Councilmember Klein, one of the challenges with that, correct me if I'm wrong, is the city of Gilroy doesn't have a staff member that's dedicated to tracking those specific measurables when it comes to the unhoused. There are nonprofit organizations in Gilroy doing that. So I think you're getting your information sort of from them.
I understand. I'm throwing it out there.
I, just real quick, if I can just interrupt, you just said 1 plus 5, that's 6, right? And you just also said that most of them are in for housing, and there's 20 to 21 people there. So something's not adding up for me in those numbers.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Klein. Continue.
I'm okay for right now. That's
okay. Councilmember Ramirez.
So I don't necessarily have questions, but can I just kind of make some comments?
Yeah, of course.
This is such a complex issue. We are dealing with the unhoused on an ongoing. This has been an issue that the city has been facing for years. And unfortunately, it's not unique to the city of Gilroy. Any city you go to, you're going to deal with this. So personally, the way I believe that the unhoused, and we're talking, about the point in time is over 900. But I think what we're all referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, are those that are living in tents, living under bridges, living in encampments, things like that. That brings the number down to, depending on who you talk to, 100 to 200 people. So those are the people I think that we're referring to when we speak about this. And in my opinion, the long-term goal should be to address the root of the problem for these individuals, which is to open up our state mental health facilities and also addiction facilities and get them appropriately placed through conservatorship. That's years down the road. In the interim, we've got short-term and then we've got midterm. The city has been working, I know it's your first day, so you might not have been working on it yet, but the interim city administrator, the mayor, we've been working to try to get the county, Valley Water, to re-engage and to use Mr. Filio's word, collaborate, to try to find a solution that is a little bit more long-term. But in the interim, we have this camp. I don't like seeing the unhoused any more than anybody else. I worry about economic development, all kinds of sanitary issues. I also have a compassionate side to me. The weather's changing, as the mayor said, and knowing that we have residents that are unhoused and in these conditions does not sit right with me. So I want to address a few things. There has been a lot of information that has been floating around. Significant amount of it has been misinformation. So I actually did call and speak to the manager of Costco. He expressed that he did have a little bit of concern when the camp first showed up. They did have an issue with some unhoused members going through the garbages at their gas station. They called the quality of life officers. They immediately responded. They handled it. They have not had an issue since. He also said that there have been a number of higher ups from Costco above his level that have come on several occasions and have never mentioned it. They do not have any of the unhoused approaching their customers. They're not wandering through the parking lot. And at this point he said, I understand the predicament that you're in. There's no easy answer. As long as they're not impacting our business, the additional 90 days is fine. He is concerned about continuing those 90 days. After 90 days, moving on. So I just want to put that out, that was the conversation that I had with him. You made reference to the current ordinance as discretionary, okay? I also went out and visited the camp and found out that there are a number of unhoused living both under the overpass at 101 as well as Arroyo Seco. There are also tents that have kind of popped up around there. So when I was speaking to the manager, I asked, did you know whether the issue was from those in the encampment or other? And of course he could not determine that. So we've talked about the liability. I don't think that is an issue. I am going to say I don't personally like our resources playing whack-a-mole and chasing and abating. Nothing is happening except we are dispersing and then finding the next location, dispersing again, finding the next location. Quite frankly, I would rather have our resources work on crime prevention, anti-crime unit, traffic unit, things like that, where I think that there's a greater impact to the community overall. I will say that I appreciate the opponents of this. I also appreciate those that are advocates for the unhoused. I would like for you to help us, and I would encourage you to attend the county supervisor meetings and speak there at public comment. We have the highest per capita of unhoused in the county, but we are not getting the appropriate resources. It is the county that has the resources. So I would love for those that are opposed to go and speak on behalf of the city. We're working internally. If you can help us with that effort and go up and speak to them and ask for our share of the resources. So this is a complex issue. There is no simple answer. I encourage anyone, I'm sure I will get phone calls and emails, people that are frustrated with the way I decide tonight. But if you have a solution that we have not come up with, please call me up, email me. I'm more than happy to sit down with you and have that conversation.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilmember Bracco.
Luke, you said about 3 hours. Now, that's the quality of life officers?
Yes, sir.
So they would be doing that no matter where these folks are at, right? In fact, probably more because you'll be getting complaints on them.
Exactly. It'd be more. Right now, they're isolated in one area. It takes 3 hours a week. If you were to move them throughout town, it's going to take more time than that.
Okay, I know because I live over there on the east side that since this camp's there, there's less tents on the sidewalk and in fields and stuff, and it just feels better in the area. You're not seeing as much. So the alternative, what do you see happening if we abate this camp?
Obviously, they need a place to go, and they don't have a place right now, so they're going to distribute throughout town. So we're going to have 20 people at 20 different locations throughout the community, and that's why it's going to be a multiplying effect for us at the police department. Instead of 3 hours a week, it could be 10 or more, just an estimate.
And there hasn't been any fires or anything out there?
None reported, no.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to Councilmember Hilton.
Thank you. So we've been clearing camps that violate this law before, during, and after this encampment. Why? I mean, is public comment, hearing from folks in public comment, the real reason why? Like, that triggers anything moving forward? Like, I've never seen staff do that in 9 years that I've been here involved. It just seems kind of strange to me.
So we had already given out notices for this camp to be abated, but then after the public comment period, I believe it was the last council meeting, we decided to put it on the agenda. It might have been 2 council meetings ago.
Also, you know, I'm not sure who else has listened to it, but I listened to the October 28th. This is more of a comment. The October 28th Valley Water Board meeting, where they made the decision to abate those Tompkins Court and the other ones that you were talking about. And you know, there was, you know, the mayor's office I know commented, Supervisor Arenas' office commented, you know, give us an extension, but there was no plan. It was just give us an extension. And that was back in October 28th, and they were done with it. I heard the testimony from the staff members. That was pretty hard 10 minutes to listen to, so that weighs heavily on me right now. Another thing is that the county Board of Supervisors has already taken this up and talked about it. They've clearly said from Office of Supportive Housing that they don't do sanctioned encampments. It's not something that they do. The last thing that I want to throw out there, just for those that are trying to be advocates for this camp and say that it's a model camp and all that, I just ask you to do better. I ask you to show better. You know, when I've seen pictures here tonight, I've seen other stuff too. You know, I don't think it's a model camp. You know, I think we might be minimizing a little bit of the effects that it's had on Costco, or those individuals that come in here, and that, you know, this council up here, over the last 12, 13 months has done a lot of tough stuff. You know, with district elections, lawsuits, we can do tough stuff. We reach across, to each other and compromise. But it makes me hard to be up here to be an advocate for camps and stuff like this when I see pictures that show up like that, and then I hear testimony from the Valley Water of what they experienced over those years of the sanctioned encampment. So that's my comments for right now. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do a possible another round since we still have Luke up here. We still have public comment, so let's keep this one brief.
Yeah. Well,
and then we still have public comment, then we're coming back to us one more time. So go ahead, Councilmember Fugazi.
I just want to address the Costco thing for a little bit, because I also reached out and spoke to the manager, Mike Biggs at Costco. Spoke to him 2 different times. I get, constant text messages. The last time when there was about 6 or 8 cars all lined up on the place that they're not even allowed to be out there, when he sent me those pictures and said, hey, are you guys collecting impact fees? Because it seems like there's some impact. The Costco fence in the back, a whole segment was taken out. Did it happen from these particular individuals in the camp? I don't know. What I can tell you is a lot of people who are not in this camp are very comfortable with now surrounding this particular camp, which, in light of maybe the work of the quality of life officers, is really great because everybody kind of comes together. The problem is that they are going through the Costco parking lot. They are leaving trash in various corners of the Costco parking lot. They are leaving trash on the other side of the street. They are cutting through places, and again, it may not be the people in these camps, and I can't say that it is, but it's creating an entire environment in that area that is not conducive to really good economic development in one of the largest tax centers that we have in the city, not just Costco, but all of those adjoining businesses in that area. So I'll leave it at that for right now until after public comment.
Thank you. Councilmember Ramirez.
Just one last comment that I forgot about was if we abate this, you're saying 20 different locations. Here's what I really have a problem with. We have a policy. I'm not quite sure, what the policy number is, whatever. But if there is an unhoused camp on a property in the city, whether it be a business property or a residential property, and it is abated and stuff is left behind, it is incumbent upon the property owner, whether that is a business property owner or a residential property owner, to financially use their own financial resources to clean up what is left behind. Furthermore, if they do not do that in a timely manner, the city imposes a fee on them. So I have a really hard time with having this dispersed, knowing that the potential is that they will go to a city, a business or a residence in the city, and then it becomes that business's problem or that resident's problem. So again, it's not an easy solution. You're right. It's a difficult solution. But these are the things that I think about when thinking about my decision this evening.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move towards public comment. I believe you have 10.
Correct.
So we're going to be at 3 minutes each, please. Thank you very much.
Okay. Ron Kirkish, followed by Linda Thomas and Joan Lewis.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and community. I feel like it's necessary to clean up a little thing that happened at the last council meeting. And basically, the city, the site does sit on city land, not county land. So the city does have the right to get rid of it. Also, I talked like some of you guys did to Big Mike, the general manager. I've talked to him 3 times. I've talked to the assistant manager, Frank, and I've also talked to 2 managers on the floor. And they don't like it there. That's what they told me. They said that each individual said that there has been problems that was brought to their attention. They also tell me that nobody from the city has talked to them until Terrence and Kelly talked to them. The only people they've worked with is the police department and the quality of life officers. They are not okay with it. The thing I get the most from the people that I deal with is they're concerned, what is the end game? What is your end game? And they would like to know what, after 30 days or 90 days, what is the plan to deal with this issue? And I think they have a right to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Linda's next, please.
Hello, Council, Mayor. I went out to that camp yesterday to take them food. For a homeless camp, these people are doing the best they can, okay? They were keeping the area clean as you can when you're homeless. They were, how can I say this? They had grace. Grace that you or I may not be able to have under those situations. Now, council, I am not stupid. I do take and I understand you're saying, what is the end game? Are we going after these 90 days? Do another 90 days? Okay? Right now, for this extension, I would ask this of you. I would ask for you to take and grant them the 90-day extension. And then, by the time those 90 days are up, they have a plan. But if you just throw them out, then you're going to have them everywhere. And I'm going to be honest about something. I have seen some homeless that terrifies me. These homeless at the Hope Camp, they are just really trying to live peaceably away from the drug addicts and the drunks, okay? When I went over there, I was comfortable. I went by myself as a woman. They got me a chair. They sat me down. They were very, very nice. And I did not know how to get to them. So I went over to Costco's back fence. And I did not see any garbage over there except Costco's planks, their wooden planks. I would ask you to sincerely grant them these 90 days. But before these 90 days are up, have them take and show you a plan. Because they do need a plan. They need a plan for
Thank you very much,
housing.
Linda. That's your 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Joni's next.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. The City of Gilroy, like many other communities, have a problem with the homeless and spent many, many dollars, and the state of California, many millions, billions of dollars on the homeless, and we have no solution. The encampment along the freeway and Costco needs to really be removed. You need to continue with your Chapter 5 and not to continue services to this site. After passing by the encampment and seeing a video of the encampment, and there is a lot of garbage accumulated. As many of you know, I had an encampment behind my house for over 3 months. I know the garbage that gets collected there. When that encampment was removed, there was 2 city garbage trucks that cleaned that mess up. I also was shopping at Costco a week ago, and there are homeless people in that parking lot. When I went to put my groceries out, there were people out there. And this one lady had her basket full of her belongings. I don't think it's fair to Costco. We get a lot of tax revenue from Costco for this city, and I don't think it's right that we have an encampment along there that they are having to police. I have made a complaint to them, so they have had complaints. I know that there's the homeless that I had behind my home, and you can't tell me that those homeless aren't collecting garbage, aren't doing drugs. I know what goes on in those camps. Gilroy has a homeless problem, and the solution needs to be dealt with. Ordinance number 2023-07 needs to be continued and not temporarily suspended. Once you make an exception, you will do it again. And out of respect to Costco and their customers who bring in a lot of tax revenue, I believe the city should disband the camp. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Aubrey, and then Tom.
Good evening, Mayor, member of the council. My name is Aubrey Tasby, the de facto mayor of Camp Hope. Thank you to those who have taken the time to meet us at Camp Hope. We are grateful for the opportunity to be there. Many of us have accomplished things we hadn't been able for years, securing jobs, obtaining driver's license, and rebuilding community connections. Most of us had never publicly speaking or engaged in local government before now. We are learning as we go to intend to remain involved to the extent we are able. Have a safe place to sleep, protection from the weather, food, and community is essential to our continued progress. We respectfully ask that our time at the current location be extended while we continue working with both the city and the county. Many residents are elderly or disabled and are waiting for placement to permanent supportive housing, a process outside of our control. We remain committed to improving our lives and supporting one another. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Tom is next, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. My name is Tom Shargan. Lived in this town for about 24 years now, small business owner. And I'm a volunteer for Pit Stop Outreach. And I deliver food there 3 or 4 nights a week. And I've been doing this since a few people started the Compassion Center. And Pit Stop is going now in its 5th or 6th year. Helping the homeless. And I'm imploring you to give us this 90-day suspension. Speaking for myself, when I go to deliver food, I have everybody in one place. And we get to know these people, we get to know what they need, and it's much easier to deliver goods and some services when I don't have to go looking all over neighborhoods and businesses and back alleys. And I know this is a big problem. This homeless issue is not going to be solved by any of you, or anything we do. But we've got to do something. You know, in the esteemed words of Mahatma Gandhi, who said that a true measure of any civilization is how we treat its weakest. And these people, they don't have anything. We all have nice homes, man caves, or plural homes, places that we can all feel safe. They feel safe in these little tents, and they have their little belongings they need, and they get their food that they need. If we spread them out all over town, the problem doesn't go away. You just distribute the issue. So I'm hoping we can come up with something in the long term. I really like what you said, Kelly, about, I don't hear too well, soliciting the county seats for more money, because I haven't seen any of this money. I don't know where this money comes from or what they're spending it on, but it certainly isn't in this community. We don't get any of it. We pay for all the food that's distributed to the homeless in this town by nonprofit. In this case, Pit Stop. So anyway, I just want to tell you that, and also, you know, there's a sense of community these folks have in their own little community. You know, they help each other. They look out for one another. It's a little neighborhood. And maybe this isn't the best place for it. I'll tell you, the sound is deafening, and I've got a hearing problem. But it's just a place that they feel good and safe, and everybody's, you know, I know, you know, Costco, they're making way too much money anyway. I still owe them the membership after I got the last check from them. And every time I've been over there, I've never seen one of our folks over there in that parking lot. I don't know if they're going through the dumpster or not, but we can make sure that doesn't happen. And if it does, once in a while, what's the big deal? Anyway, I thank you for your time, and I hope that you give us that 90-day ruling. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Next is Jan, and then Jose, and then Gabriel.
Council, thank you for taking the time to take a look at this issue. You know, as you just heard, you know, is it a great solution when 25 people are living in an impromptu encampment near Costco and near Freeway? No, you know what? That's not the best of all possible worlds, but it's the best of the options available today, right? Because it's a much worse option to disperse people all over the city. the person, I can tell you for sure, the person pushing a cart with their belongings is not staying at Camp Hope, because when you disperse people, when they don't have a place to keep their stuff, that's when they have to load their belongings into a cart and push it to another part of town, right? That's when you're going to start having all the calls for service, because the community is seeing people pushing carts where there weren't carts before. That's when you're going to have calls for service, because there are more people under the bridge. There have been people living under that 101 freeway, at least since we started Pit Stop, right? I mean, definitely 10 years. Camp Hope has nothing to do with that. And Camp Hope has rules. It's self-governing. And I'll tell you, they've been very willing to be self-policing too, and make sure that everybody who stays there is adhering to the camp rules. I think this is something very different than we saw on the Valley Water property, to Councilmember Hilton's comments. This is smaller. This is far more managed. This has some rules. And, where a lot of the friction happened with Valley Water staff is because Valley Water staff was going in and doing the cleanup. Well, here at Camp Hope, it's the residents doing the cleanup. And yeah, they bag their garbage and they put it in a pile near the porta potties. And yes, the city truck comes. And I know, the main expense is really the porta potties. So I want to make an offer. Extend Camp Hope for another 90 days. And through Pit Stop Outreach, we will raise the money to cover the cost of the porta potties, okay? This does not have to be a city expense, because as you heard, the expense to the police department will be greater if you disperse the camp right now. Let's get, and I've just checked, it's 8 to 10 people right now. And to Mr. Fugazi's question, everybody except for 2 had what's called a VI SPDAT. They're somewhere in the housing queue. But 8 have actually been called by Santa Clara County's Office of Supportive Housing saying, hey, do this, 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 and this, and you get your apartment, okay? So we've got people in that final stretch, and if we disrupt them, they are more likely to not make it and to lose the housing opportunity. The best bet to get people off the street permanently is to let us work with them where they are so we can get them into permanent housing. That is what serves not only the people who are homeless, but the entire community. I thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Next is Jose, and then Gabriel.
Good evening. My name is Jose Medina, and I'm from Camp Hope. And being there is not just an environment that I would not be expected to be in, but unfortunately I am, and I met people and come and go, and they're not just, I consider them as my family, and being there is just a place I feel safe at. And I really wish that you guys give us an extension of 90 days or more, whatever God's plan is. And I mean, we keep everything clean. We help each other. If someone needs help, we help them out. And I mean, that's pretty much it I have to say. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next is Gabriel.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm not really good at talking or anything like that, but my name is Gabriel. I'm a long-term resident here in Gilroy. I want to begin by thanking you for the compassion you already have shown us and allowing us to stay where we're at. That kindness has meant more than I can express. I am asking you to please support allowing us to continue staying at Camp Hope when people experiencing homelessness are constantly forced to move. It does not solve problems, it makes them worse. It strips away their stability we left behind that we have. We are not choosing this life, we are human beings doing our best to survive. Every time we are displaced, we lose access to outreach workers, Medicare, food, and community support. We lose our belongings, we lose important documents, sometimes we lose each other. Small community we have built is often the only family some of us have. Without stability, we cannot sleep. Without sleep, we cannot think clearly, keep appointments, complete paperwork, or take the steps required to move out of homelessness. Constant displacement keeps people trapped in crisis. Since being at Camp Hope, many of us have been able to build trust, stay connected to services, and begin moving forward. For the first time in a long time, some of us have felt a sense of safety and hope. Allowing us to remain at Camp Hope is not only the most humane choice, it's also the most practical and cost-efficient option, while long-term solutions are developed. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next two speakers are Chris Fani, then Shelley Swan.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Chris Fani. I'm not so much interested in the abatement itself as being discussed tonight, but really in what I think I've heard council speak to, and what is the end game? My concern is that without an end game, as if we kick the can down the road, do we end up into a slippery slope where we start allowing other encampments? We end up with other situations as we had before the ordinance went into effect. And let me remind you of where we were before the ordinance went into effect. We had encampments in the creek. We had encampments over by the park, Christmas Hill Park. We had several issues. Issues that I brought to city staff, spent much time with the city manager at that time. And with Pedro Espinoza when he was still police chief. The creek fires, for example, that occurred. They directly resulted in a 20% increase in our insurance on our investment properties over here in Gilroy. A 20% increase. That increase gets passed on to our tenants. Our tenants then pass it on to the consumers. Real impact. Real impact from where we were before. We had an impact because the folks don't just stay in the encampments, as Costco is experiencing. They wander from the encampments. We had situations with loitering. We had defecating in the parking lot. We had people exposing themselves at two different businesses. These are all in police reports. We had people breaking electric boxes to power up their cell phones. Other property damage. It was a constant issue. When the ordinance went into effect, that issue slowly abated itself and became much more manageable. And this is not just an issue for Gilroy. We're seeing this issue in Mountain View. We have a whole other issue. We've got these RV parks that are causing enormous problems. Enormous vacancies in some areas, one of the areas where we have some investment property. And to the extent that the city, at this point, the city is strapped with the Navarro settlement, which will be coming up soon. There are several property owners that are letting the city of Mountain View know that when it does come up, they expect action. Because when you have vacancies hitting 40 to 50 to 60% directly attributable to the situations with the allowed, there is the potential for liability from a jurisdiction. So I look at this, and I look at the camp, and this is not a compassionate solution either. I mean, I agree with Zach. This is not a compassionate solution. The county and the state have just blew it with how they're handling the whole situation. They kick the can, and they kick it to the cities, and it's wrong.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Shelley's next, please.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Swan with Carry the Vision. I just wanted to share a few highlights that have happened just in the past week. Somebody or a couple people have mentioned that people don't just stay at the encampments. That's true that they don't. They come out into the community, and I just want to share some examples about what that looks like. 2 residents obtained their driver's license. 1 resident had their hours increased at work. 1 resident completed training to become a healing circle facilitator and now will lead in the broader community, including the Armory. Residents participated in a group outing to shop for clothing to prepare for work and events. Residents attended a black tie event honoring Black History Month. 2 council members and the mayor visited the camp, including an invitation for coffee. New leaders have stepped forward to take on responsibilities within the camp. Several individuals advocated for themselves for the very first time and clearly practicing their public speaking and preparing speeches. These are all skills that are transferred outside of the encampment. So when I hear it being focused on just like the property, it really limits the human aspect of it and what people are really capable of doing when there's some stability. Kelly, to your point about funding, we have been scratching at the walls as a nonprofit for a long time, along with Pit Stop, about getting funding and advocacy. We have all the data, the reports, everything to the moon and back about what's needed in Gilroy. And so I'd really love to partner with the city on a deeper level to do some advocacy with, local nonprofits to go, up the chain, because I agree with you on that. So I really do hope that you consider the extension. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. It looks like we have final 2. It's Todd Langton and Robert Aguirre.
I usually wing it, but I feel like if I read it, I'll get everything in. So my name is Todd Langton. I'm a founder of Agape Silicon Valley up in San Jose. I live in Hollister. I drive past this encampment every day that I drive up there. And I find myself saying, I wish the encampments in San Jose looked like this one. I've been to every encampment in San Jose dozens of times. You can see by my forehead, I've got skin in the game. I've got some skin issues going on because of a lot of the sunshine. But this is not, I don't want to say it's a model encampment, but it's drastically better than the encampments we have out there. So people ask me, why do I do what I do? Why do all these advocates do what they do? And all our volunteers that show up and go out in these distributions. I learned as a young kid that the purpose of life is to bless the lives of others, especially the most vulnerable. I love this phrase, it shouldn't have to happen to you for it to matter to you. I know this sounds cliche, but most of us here are one paycheck or one health issue away from becoming homeless. I like what you said, Mayor. I think it was his mission statement. The purpose of the City Council, the municipality of Gilroy, is to improve the lifestyles of as many of the residents as possible in Gilroy. These abatements they're a death sentence, either slowly or quickly, to the unhoused. And I've seen it personally. I've had many of my unhoused friends pass away. I go out the encampment to go on the distribution. Where are they? They're gone. When you abate them, this comment's been brought up quite a bit. When you abate them, they go somewhere else. Financially, it doesn't make sense for the city to go out to all these different places to work with the unhoused population. It's better to congregate, just like we're here tonight. We are congregating, much more efficient for a variety of reasons. I went out to this encampment prior to their abatement, the last abatement. I interviewed most of them. I was shocked to hear of a 70-year-old woman whose daughter was pregnant and they were both living there. This is not right. This is not what we learn in Sunday school. This is not how we're supposed to treat people. Again, my theme is, I get involved in politics up in San Jose. And by the way, I'm going to be speaking at the Board of Supervisors. And I'm going to highlight the fact that they're not spending enough money down here in in Gilroy. Council member, there's a few council members, I won't name you by name, but your comments, some of your comments are way off track. And I urge you to go out to the encampments. Don't rely on photos. Don't rely on silly math. Go out to the encampments, get to know these guys. They're good. I met them. I was shocked how clean their encampments are and how well they took care of each other.
Thank you, Todd. There's your 3 minutes.
Can I have another minute?
No, you don't. Sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Your legacy is depending on what
Thank
you do
you.
here.
Robert.
Hello, I'm Robert Aguirre, president of the Gilroy Union of the Homeless. Mrs. Blanca Rosa is also a member of the Gilroy Union of the Homeless. And here we go. So I'm going to read a little bit here. This is taken from a speech by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When asking unhoused to abide by the law, let us also declare that the city of Gilroy does not abide by the law. Day in and day out, the city violates welfare laws to deprive the poor of their meager allotments. They flagrantly violate building codes and housing regulations to shut out poor people. The police force is the ultimate mockery of law. The city violates laws on equal employment and education. The encampments are the handiwork of a vicious system of the wealthy society. This society is refusing to take means which have been called for and which are at hand to lift the load of the poverty. And as far as the drone video, if you're using drone videos to prove how the occupants are making a mess of the land, I ask you to go to the council office and look at that map that was talked about earlier, the map of Gilroy, to see how colonization has made a mess of the land stolen from the indigenous people, the Ama Mutsun tribal band of Ohlone Costanoan Indians. This land was provided to all people, not for exploitation, but for people to have a place to survive. And what we're doing now is we're taking away the opportunity for people to lift themselves up, to make themselves better, to become active citizens. And it is your all responsibility to make sure that you represent all people of the city, not just the wealthy, not just the landowners, but all people, especially, as pointed out, the least of us. So I urge you to consider, more than consider, vote for extending the time for these people to continue trying to put their lives together. I'm going to leave you with one more quote. This is from Victor Hugo. If the soul is left in darkness, sins will be committed. The guilty one is not he who commits the sin, but he who causes the darkness. So let's lift that veil of darkness and give these people a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
I have no further speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure if Captain Powell, you'd like to come back up in the event that there's some more questions for you, but the first person I have on the board is Councilmember Hilton, so take it away.
Thank you. So I am still uncomfortable with certain parts of this ordinance that we talked about tonight and supportive of other parts. Not all legislation is perfect, and this one from June of 2023 struck a balance. The scope of the initial language was too big and prevented anyone from laying, sitting, and sleeping in a park or taking a nap. I appreciated us removing that language when it was discovered during the March 2023 meeting. The intention of GPD's officers when it comes to enforcing this on our parks would come through common sense approach, case by case, and not profiling. This would allow our unhoused families whose students attend school to enjoy the park while their child goes to school if they wish. It also provides flexibility to our foster youth that attend our schools that maybe don't want to go back home right away to enjoy the park. It will allow youth and residents that don't have a home life that's positive to go home to, which affects everyone across our city from the east to the west. Parks are a safe place and a chance away from all. I expressed my concerns last November with the mayor's office and the previous interim city administrator, who paused enforcement subjectively at the 6th Street encampment. I said whether it's functioning well or not, is not the deciding factor of this encampment being allowed. We already established a law against this, and we have a duty and obligation to protect critical infrastructure. If the city administrator or city council wants to change that law, then place it on the agenda. Otherwise, you're just circumventing the law, the current law, providing special subjective treatment and keeping this from the public. If any staff or elected has a plan in place, then my office remains open to work with you. That commitment has never wavered. When we have a focus on critical safety to our infrastructure, I was supportive of this legislation in 2023, and I'm still supportive of it today. This is not an unhoused prevention policy by any means and has a narrow focus. The burden is on the staff to make sure we follow procedures perfectly, or else we'll be subjecting ourselves to litigation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person I see is Councilmember Bracco.
Yes. When we visited this originally, we had a problem with homeless around the school of IOOF. And the parents were upset about it. And we were working on that problem, and staff brought us what we eventually adopted was a way to solve that problem and other problems around the schools, was to use the city property to keep them off of certain areas. Well, it hasn't really worked. And I'm of the belief that when you're doing something that's not working, let's try something else. So I'm willing to try this. You know, I've heard from council members, from community members, you know, if they would just keep their area clean, if they would just keep the noise down and not bother the neighbors, I'd be okay with it. Well, I feel responsibility now because they did what we asked. They're not causing problems. They're going to go somewhere. We know that. You know, when we pushed them off of city property, most of them went to Tompkins Court. And when they pushed them out of Tompkins Court, they go to the next location and the next location. And then we have our police department, which I'm sure these officers, when they become police officers, that's not the ideal job that they wanted to do, is chase homeless folks around telling them you got to move somewhere. And, you know, maybe it's just because of my business and stuff. You don't know what it's like when you see these officers take somebody's motorhome and they have to unload every possession that they have onto the curb, and they lose their house. It sucks. And, you know, I think we need to be more compassionate as long as they go by the rules. And, you know, if there's complaints like, well, it's not clean enough, well, let's go talk to them and see if they can keep it cleaner. You know, let's don't forget, they don't have a garage where they can store all their junk. You know, they got to cart it around everywhere. You know, I've been involved with the homeless for a long time. I started with Jan when we started the Compassion Center, and I went back and forth on it. Jan's been mad at me for a long time because I kind of switched sides. But when, you know, I think these folks are kind of what we want to see happen with the other homeless camps. So I'm in support of it. You know, I've heard here tonight people from on the other side of town complaining about this. They got to actually get in their car and drive over and take a look. And I've had somebody this week lying about me, saying I said things I didn't say. I know whose property that is. You think I'm stupid? I've been up here for 21 years. I know that's not the county's property. So, you know, when people have to resort to lies, you know you're on the right track. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have anyone else, other council members on the board at this point, but Well, you go ahead. And then I'll go Councilmember Fugazi, then I'll go Councilmember Klein.
All right, this might take a little bit. I got some prepared statement like Councilmember Hilton, so bear with me. I can't deny that the needs of the individuals, the struggles that they have, those who spoke here tonight, those who live in that particular camp, those who live in the areas nearby. That said, when I campaigned for this role over a year ago, I spoke in many forums with many residents about the approaches to homeless in the community and the direction I would take, based around many of the concerns that were voiced here tonight, for instance, by Mr. Vani. I was clear then. I'm going to try to be as clear tonight. We have many good people in this community. Many of them spoke here tonight who advocate passionately for the homeless. They care deeply. They show up. They work hard. I respect that. Some of them worked on the same thing that I helped advocate to get them more money for with Carry the Vision. So I truly respect that. But me being the passionate advocate for the homeless is never going to be my role. Instead, I'm going to advocate for Gilroy's residents, for the families, for the business owners, the seniors, others who don't want anything but a good quality of life themselves. They don't want garbage on the streets. They don't want garbage at Costco when they're walking into Costco. They don't want fires in open spaces, or they don't want things happening in their parks. They don't want their natural space to be burnt up. They want order and safety in the city. And many of these people are homeless themselves too. But in regards specifically to this situation, for years Valley Water tried to look the other way. They did what they thought was compassionate. They tolerated the encampments. They hoped the problems would resolve themselves via other agencies, but eventually they couldn't do it anymore. There were threats, there were acts of violence against their workers, there was serious damage to waterways and natural resources. And so they created a new ordinance and began enforcing it, and the time came for Gilroy, and 2 camps were abated. Santa Clara County knows all of this too, about what the direction is going to be. They know these encampments don't work long term. That's why they moved so quickly to address the one that appeared just across the street. I've been watching these situations in Gilroy for years. I've seen what happens when the camps are allowed to grow without structure, accountability, following the law. However, when this encampment was created, I gave our mayor the benefit of the doubt when he told me his plan. I thought maybe it was possible for a new way to go, and he was going to use the county and other ways to see about getting help for these people. I trusted him when he said it would be temporary, just a couple of months. And that was in early November. It's not his fault. This is how these things go. But then it was extended, and it was extended, and it was extended again. Now we're being asked to have it extended some more. And all of this didn't have any council approval. We never got any word on this until now, today. I decided to see it for myself. No, I didn't go in and meet with the people there, but I have for many different times observed around the encampments, and by the way, the encampments, not just the one there, but an increasing number of people have, not just under the overpasses, but right next to the fence at Costco. There was a giant garbage section of one individual just recently. I wanted to believe that this would be different. I wanted to believe this could be a model, something better. And sure, there's deserving people that need help. Instead, after 3 months, just 3 months, I see what many people expected to see. And while some people say this really looks like a model, sadly, there's lots of trash and debris. Yes, there's trash pickup, but there's a lot more trash and debris, pallets and flammable materials. There's fences that are city property that have already had holes torn in it right next to the property. Pathways carved in the hillside with cobblestones put on it. Reports to the nearby businesses. Many other homeless people not allowed in the camp, yeah, they're settling nearby and creating a public nuisance. And Costco is not happy with it, more than just one individual there. It's not progress, and it's what makes this so disappointing. Because even if I could never support this specific location, this could have been something truly positive or different, in my opinion. It could have been an example of an orderly, respectful, responsible camp. A place where people took pride not only in their own tents, but in the surrounding area, in the creek, in the land, in the community. As I said, there's trash all over the place. Maybe it doesn't belong to them, and it's likely not. But, you know what? If you were picking up some of the other trash, like most of us were taught growing up, we wouldn't have this opinion right now. That opportunity was lost. And I'm afraid that instead of helping your cause, it may have harmed it. Because now people are asking, is this what a different camp looks like? Why should we support more of it? How do you build this broader advocacy when this is what people see? We also need to change how we frame this conversation. Too often, the first question is, but where will they go? I don't believe that's the right starting point. The real question is, how do we lobby those to help that have the real power, the real funding? They're not here. They're up north. How do you pressure the county and the state to act? How do you get permanent facilities built, for instance, on county land? Facilities many cities could use, facilities that actually serve the need. I suggest spending more of your time on that. Lobby them. This money exists, especially now. We just got charged an extra half-cent sales tax. Demand better management and support from the county and how they spend your dollars. Go talk to Sylvia Arenas and find out how she is going to really lobby to get this money for us. We've seen tens of millions of dollars spent on other projects, including a beautiful animal facility. Super important, but it shows what's possible when there's political will and you get people to fight for it. Let's also be honest about something else. Gilroy's homeless population is not made up of only people in Gilroy. The numbers simply don't support that. It's not mathematically possible. It's almost 3 times what is the general average count. This is a county-wide issue. The sooner we treat it as one, the sooner everybody treats it as one, the sooner real solutions can happen. We can't solve this alone in Gilroy. We shouldn't even have to be the catalyst. We should not be expected to carry this burden alone. Compassion without structure doesn't work. Enforcement here may seem like it's taking something away, but it's not. It should have never been there in the first place. This is preserving order in our city, and when people ask where will they go, well, they don't need to have that answer before we know that this isn't the place, this isn't the way. In closing, I might suggest, especially for this very small group of people, instead of laying the burden on this camp and its unknown time frame on the entire city of Gilroy, maybe through our houses of worship, other compassionate organizations, or sponsor volunteers, you might find a place, even individually, for each of these 21 individuals to camp in the interim. Surely with the numbers you have, 1 tent and 21 backyards can't be that impossible. Can't we figure this out? Moving forward, I'll still be here to listen with an open mind to smart, well-thought-out plans from those on this council or others who choose to make this a priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to Councilmember Klein and then Councilmember Ramirez.
I guess, again, asking a question of the mayor, as far as county response, you've been talking with them at this issue, and what has their response been to looking at the other things?
Well, I think you've heard that from tonight from council members and from staff, is that it's hard to get these types of resources from county. It has been.
Right. Yeah, that's where my challenge is. I ask that just because that's where I'm challenged at this moment with our confidence in our county. It's fallen on our shoulders to manage this, thrown in our lap. And again, that's the struggle here because, again, it's people. Little g has failed miserably at this issue. And I say little g being government. At the local level, the state level, especially the state level, in putting us in this place, little g has gone out of its way of keeping big G out of the equation. And again, I'm a man of faith, and that big G is a big part of solutions that people need in this community. And I look at my belief is that a person that finds themselves in this situation can only get to a better place by dealing with their issues of addiction, mental health, and faith-based solutions. It's only then that they can build their life back in a positive way. The whole idea is to get them back on their feet with a room and a job. That's the whole idea. And I think that's with the nonprofits that are working, carry the vision. That is their end goal to this. And I think getting the churches, I agree, Councilmember Fagazzi, the churches need to get involved. That's where we meet people at where they're at, regardless of who they are. And that's the most important thing here. And again, the struggle is, as a city, we don't have those resources. And I do petition our county. We need you to step up. The funding for what we have here is important to get. And we're not going to solve this tonight. It's trying to mitigate an issue. I did vote for the camping ban back in 23. I did watch these proceedings that we did in June, and just to refresh myself, I did go out to the camp, and I have talked to Costco. So I've done my homework. I have talked with a quality of life officer to get the feel of what's going on, and it's tough. It really is a tough issue, and there's no easy answer here because you're dealing with people, and that's the hard part of this. So there was a saying of a friend of mine. He said this at our meeting back in June of 23. He says, "It has been said that good governance is the effective use of taxpayers' money for return on investment. And what we have seen from federal, state, and local is failure, yet we still reward them. Perhaps if we were to take and have a slightly different approach and have a articulable or demonstrable or significant change in the homeless solution, we should consider rewarding those folks. But to give money to the same people for no benefit and no change, you are rewarding failure." And that's kind of the struggle we have. The data proves that. If I don't know, it's a real challenge to me in dealing with this, just because of what we're faced with, because we're dealing with people. So thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Ramirez.
So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different solution. We've all talked about it. The state and the county, they're kind of throwing the money the same way. No real different changes in how they're doing that, and they're expecting a solution for homelessness. I have always tried to be a solutions-based person. When I had staff reporting to me, I would say, bring me the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then let's talk. Don't come to me with just a problem, but come to me with a possible solution so that we can start from there. And so we can blame the county, we can blame the state, but unless we are agreeing to come up with a solution, the question I keep hearing is, what is the end game? What is the end game? Great question. But then the flip side to that coin is, if we abate and continue to abate and continue to abate because they're not going away, what's the end game? So what I would like to see is, and I've pushed this, the poor mayor has heard this 1,000 times from me, but I think it is incumbent upon us to get together as a current council and do a study session and try to come up with some solutions. We are not going to fix the unhoused problem, but we can at least try to come up with some other solutions that might be working today and into the future until we can start getting the county and the state to reallocate their resources and really do something that moves the needle on that. And I will tell you, if this is something that we move forward, I want parameters put on it. It won't be extended, again, beyond 90 days. It gives us kind of puts the pressure on us to get together as a council and work towards a solution within those 90 days. And also, if calls of service increase, if local businesses start calling with complaints, that changes things. But if it can maintain and follow the rules, whatever rules they have out there, it gives us 90 days to try to get together and work together. We've, to your point, we've dealt with hard situations, and I think that we can work on this and come up with some steps forward.
Thank you very much. Any further comments? So I just have a few myself. First of all, thank you to the public, and thank you to the members of council here for the very, very, very important discussion that we're having. And we're doing this in such a positive and congenial way that it's, I thank every single one of you up here for saying that, for saying the words that you did. There's something that every single one of you said that I identify with, and including members of the public, regardless of how you feel about this. And this is what makes this so difficult, is that this problem that we're dealing with today and this conversation we have is as difficult as the problem that we're dealing with, like we've all already talked about. This is not a solution. This is an exception to a rule. That's all that it is. And this idea about wondering what the end game is I don't have an end game. But I will guarantee you that I will put every amount of time that I have on this council working with members to the left and right of me that don't necessarily 100% agree to come together and do our very best to find a different solution that has been unable to be found in the past. That's what we can offer you. And as Councilmember Hilton said a little while ago, we've done some tough stuff in 14 months. And I'm confident that we can come together and work on this. So this is one of the biggest problems of our time, not just this council, but of our time, our era, in our society. And I believe that with some hard work, that we can come together. I've said this before. Until we can't, I think we can. And that's the way we're going to move forward. So based on that, I'm going to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to grant the extension.
Okay, can I add to that a little bit?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we're going to adopt a resolution suspending enforcement of Gilroy City Code Chapter 5 for a period of time not to exceed 90 days, authorizing the city to continue to provide sanitation-related services, which are portable restrooms and solid waste removal, to the temporary encampment during the suspension and abating the said encampment after the suspension period, which includes, this is what we're going to add to the resolution if we would like to accept this, is that the suspension may be ended at any time. The city administrator determines that there's an increased risk to public health, public safety that require the immediate enforcement. He has that authority. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, can you add possibly one other thing, which is no further extensions will be granted?
Yeah, I did. It's up there. It says do not exceed 90 days.
On this one, but it doesn't really, I mean, this is not going to exceed, but does that mean that it could come back to council and still have another extension? Maybe legal can give a comment on that.
I think the council cannot really, at this point, say something cannot come back to the council.
Okay. Okay, so I still...
So moved.
However, excuse me, if I may. The resolution itself, however, says that this is does not constitute a waiver of the city's right to enforce its ordinance to require the clearance, etc. That's the attempt to work with that concept.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Bracco. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Yeah, I have a second by Councilmember Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazzi?
No.
Councilmember Hilton?
No.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Bozo?
Yes, motion passes 4-2. We're going to take a 5-minute break, please. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Ramirez, please return to your seat.
Councilmember Ramirez, please remove.
Please return to your seat. Oh my God, she's going away from us. We're calling this meeting back to order, whether we have 6 or not. Okay, it looks like we are moving on now to item number 4, the consent calendar. Any questions on items on consent? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
A motion?
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Klein. Yeah, thank you. Before I take a second on that motion, I'm looking for public comment.
I have no speakers.
Thank you. Looking for a second on items on consent, 4.1 through 4.6.
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Bracco to approve all the items on the consent calendar, 4.1 through 4.6. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Boso?
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Moving on to item number 5.1, consider extending the urgency interim ordinance prohibiting the issuance of tobacco retailer permits citywide for a period of 10 months and 15 days. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just give me one moment, please.
While they're getting ready, just confirming with council if there are any ex parte communications to report on this.
Nope.
None? Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Michael Fasadi, the planning manager with the City of Gilroy. We will be discussing extending the urgency interim ordinance prohibiting the issuance of tobacco retailer permits this evening. I'd first like to share the background of how we got here. On October 20th, 2025, staff was asked to consider drafting an urgency interim ordinance prohibiting new smoke shops in the downtown area. Staff found that smoke shops is not a defined use in the city code and prepared an ordinance prohibiting the issuance of tobacco retailer permits for the downtown area instead. So on November 3rd, 2025, staff came back with a 45-day urgency interim ordinance prohibiting new tobacco retailer permits in the downtown specific area plan, followed by another extension for 10 months and 15 days for the downtown area. After considering public input and the 10-day report, City Council directed staff to draft another urgency interim ordinance prohibiting tobacco retailer permits citywide. Therefore, on January 5th, 2026, City Council voted unanimously to adopt Ordinance 2026-01 for a 45-day for a period of 45 days prohibiting the issuance of tobacco retailer permits. Yet this ordinance is set to expire February 19th, 2026. Part of the requirements to extend an urgency interim ordinance requires a 10-day report. California Government Code allows cities to adopt or even extend the emergency interim ordinance using the 10-day report as an exhibit to demonstrate why the urgency ordinance is necessary. Staff has completed the 10-day report included in your agenda report packet, which identifies measures to alleviate these conditions. This includes internal team formation and identifying the best known methods to consider how the California cities are developing new zoning regulations to tackle this issue. Therefore, staff is requesting the City Council extend the urgency ordinance for 10 months and 15 days as permitted by state law. This will bring the expiration date of the ordinance to January 3rd, 2027, where we'd like to incorporate the definition of smoke shop into the zoning ordinance and identify where the uses would be permitted and prohibited potentially. Staff has identified 8 other cities that had similar urgency ordinance situations. 7 of those cities requested and received approved extensions to their urgency interim ordinance or a temporary moratoria related to smoke shops. In closing, staff recommends the City Council make 4 actions. Determine that the proposed action is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15061B3. Review or direct the city clerk to read the ordinance extending the urgency interim ordinance by title only and waiving the further reading. Review, approve, and issue the 10-day report as required by Government Code Section 65858D for extension of the urgency interim ordinance. And lastly, adopt an ordinance extending the urgency interim ordinance established to prohibit the issuance or approval of any new tobacco retailer permit for an additional 10 months and 15 days citywide, with a minor modification to include the sentence as described above. This concludes staff's summary of the proposed project. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions? Sorry, go ahead, Councilmember.
I do have a few questions. Pretty much for me to feel like for the citywide that we should extend this out, and certainly for such a long period of time. You know, I'd like to know how we're doing, especially since it's been 3 months, as far as the existing code that we have, the tobacco shops that are in town, maybe specifically some of the smoke shops that themselves do not have TRPs, or some of them even business licenses. 3 months ago, it was kind of uncovered that as everybody looked at each other, nobody really knew who was doing what in terms of enforcement on this. Today, I've got a number of emails that still really haven't cleared that up for me, or haven't been responded to clear up knowing that. So, you know, do we still have, or how many of these smoke shops selling legal tobacco products without TRP or without even a business license do we still have in town?
Me personally, for the planning part, I can't speak to that exact number.
So who is the person who's really in charge of managing all of this?
Is tonight, but tonight,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, if we're going to extend for 10 months, yes, I'd like to know that, like, maybe we do need to extend it for 10 months. Maybe we need to extend it for 3 months.
All I was going to say, and then I'll leave it up to you. All I was going to comment on is I'm under the impression that's why we need this period of time to do that. So I hear your point. Is it 10 or 3 or 4? So I guess we'll get some comments. You know.
Sure. Herschel Tsanga, Finance Director. I've been leading the internal coordination of that effort. That topic in itself, or specific, shops and such, are not on the agenda, so I can't speak relative to what the outcome is with respect to each of those. What I can say is we have communicated to the City Council that there is an effort underway. It is still ongoing very much, and we plan to communicate out to the Council once we have concluded that process here in February. So I would probably say the next material update that you can expect on that topic would be towards the end of February.
So we don't know how many are still in town that are selling without TRPs, and
like I said, they're at various stages of within the process, so I don't have that information right now, but it's something that we plan to communicate to the Council once we conclude the process.
Most of them have been shut down, like very few
I know
have been
of at
shut
least
down.
3, like I said, but again, I think that's not the topic on the agenda.
Well, but it is, it is relative to
to
what I'm going to ask in a minute, which is what is the real urgency here? Because maybe the urgency is so much greater, right, that 10 months is too much time. Maybe this has to be a shorter period of time so that we actually get on it even faster to make sure that we can do the right enforcement.
Correct. So, and just to clarify on that point, we recognize the 10 months, 15 days is a statutory extension that's required. We have communicated to the Council, and it is the staff's intent to actually come before the Council with whatever revisions, with the outcome of the process that we're going through, and any additional recommendations with respect to the revisions to the ordinance.
So how long do you think it will take then?
I would say by June you should see something.
So by what does that mean, see something?
With respect to changes to the TRP ordinance.
And in the interim, we hope for the best that the enforcement is actually going forward? I mean, I ask this because with the level of urgency that we thought we were taking with this, it's actually called urgent. That we have, as far as I know, smoke shop within a school area that's still open, selling tobacco products without a business license or a TRP. And in 3 months, it doesn't seem very urgent for the city to deal with this. I'm sorry, this is just one council member's opinion on it. And I'm wondering if we have to make it, make that timeline tighter actually, so that while you think we're going to do that, we put extra resources or whatever it is to move it up to, 90 days. I don't know. That's why I was asking the question as to the real results of what we have so far after uncovering this in 30 or 90 days ago.
Do you have another question?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Hilton.
I'll defer to the city administrator if it's something you want to add right now.
Thank you. I was just going to reiterate the timeline that we have in front of us now is a June return to council with a revision to the ordinance. The conversation on the table today, I think, is moving in that direction. I understand there's a need for enforcement. I think those actions are continuing. We can certainly bring back a report as well on the enforcement side of things as a separate item for the council to hear and discuss.
Harjo, thank you for answering these questions. I have two questions for you. Well, the first is the comment. I too share this urgency within my own office to want to have this information. It's been since December 24th since we've had that confidential. Last time that I asked you if we could see it again, you said, in my report, I said it'll be in February. Be patient. I'm trying my hardest to be patient. I really don't want to see it on February 28th. That's just my own thing. I want to see progress. I saw a lot of progress. I am just worried that we're not moving fast enough. But I have a process question about how folks get the retail permit citywide. It has to do with our business license, which is your department, right? Business licenses.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Is it under the purview of the agenda item, or is that off?
It is.
Okay.
So my question, because it has to do with the public comment letter that we got that we'll probably talk about too.
Sure.
So when somebody goes and gets a business license, right, or one of these shops that would go this, and this would obviously already trigger some people and say, you can't get a business license or you can't get your TRP. On our business license form, the copy I'm looking at, it says, if your business partakes in selling tobacco-related products, please provide your tobacco retail license number. Is that us saying the Gilroy one or State of California one?
State of California one.
So how is that assumed? If I go in and do that, how am I assuming that's for the State of California versus?
There's so once we receive the business license application, it includes whether they're doing tobacco retailer or not, and then if they have a state permit number included in there, we follow that up with the tobacco retailer permit application and say, you have indicated on your business license application you intend to do among tobacco retails. City has a requirement of obtaining a TRP. Please complete this application, and then those two go hand in hand, and that's the process. Or there's other permits as well that are required by.
I just wanted to know the process. Thank you,
Councilmember Ramirez.
I'm not sure that this can be answered tonight based on the agenda, but when I hear your concern about maybe that haven't been enough closed. Can you speak, or perhaps Captain Powell can speak to the process of closing one down and the resources that are impacted once it's closed down, or is that not something we can discuss?
Yeah, I would probably advise that we follow up with the council separately on that topic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I can go to public comment.
I have two speakers, Mundo, followed by Ryan.
Technically, we're opening the public hearing now.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Appreciate your time tonight. The topic for today for us is the tobacco permit. So our project on Chestnut and 10th Street is Circle K. My name is Mundo Castron. I'm the Real Estate Development Manager for California. And we started this process back in 2022. trading paper with Evergreen Development to do a ground lease at that corner. During that process, we went through the entitlements, finished that roughly around 23 to 24, and then did our permitting, which ended in February of 25. And then we mobilized our construction team in April of 2025. Naturally, with construction, you run into issues and certain things that come arise, and it took us roughly almost 7, 8, 9 months to finish our construction process, which was finished on January 8th of 2026. We submitted our state application for our tobacco license in September, and then we submitted our business license in roughly November when this ordinance came in effect. We're wanting to be a good partner to the city of Gilroy, and we look forward to building long-term relationship with you guys and the rest of the other counties and cities. We really do put our best foot forward and try to deliver projects that resemble what the community wants and delivering those goods and items. I think we took into consideration too a lot of the points that the city pointed out, which was having that reverse layout. We really wanted to make sure that you guys weren't and the community members weren't looking at that fuel canopy. We understand it's potentially an eyesore, so we do understand that process, but we just want to make sure that we can have an open conversation, open discussion about doing what's right. And I think that went into effect January 5th and really just kind of put a wrench in our business model. And we have the rest of our team here. We have 2 people from operations and another real estate development manager with me, and then Ryan Kroll. So appreciate you guys' time today, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next speaker is Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'll be very brief, and don't worry, we're not going to have the rest of the team speak, but they did travel here, so we figured they'd come up here. I had submitted a letter earlier today that I heard some reference to, so I hope everyone had a chance to read it. Just very succinctly is that Circle K got its state tobacco license in September, submitted the application, or October, submitted the application, the business license application to the city in November 7th, clearly identified the desire to sell tobacco. From what I just understood, what should have occurred is at some point an application for the tobacco retailer permit come back to Circle K. That didn't happen prior to January 5th. I don't know why it didn't. It's not any malfeasance. My assumption is that the business usually opens, there's a little bit of back and forth over the coming weeks, and eventually you get all the permits you're supposed to fill out in the filing. But Circle K has invested over $6.5 million here, has fully disclosed the desire to sell tobacco on all of its products, has based this investment on that idea, and informed the city through the business license, which was the step to begin getting the tobacco retailer permit back in November. So that's 2 months before the citywide moratorium went into effect. We are not subject to the downtown one. It's just the citywide. So really had, and it's not to blame anyone at the city, but had the city told us somewhere in those 2 months, please submit this form and pay the couple $100 fee, it would have been done. We just didn't know. And so the timing of it is just unfortunate. And so I came in my letter with a bunch of options, suggestions on what to do. Hopefully the idea is we're not trying to stop the extension, if that's what the city council wants to do, is just for this unique situation where we've vested our right, we've done everything we're supposed to do, we've spent a lot of money in reliance upon our permissions. I think the law supports the vested right, but it's really just a fairness issue. And I don't, I was hired as a lawyer, but I'm not here to spout the law. It's just, I think, very much a fairness idea. We did what we were supposed to do. The timing's just unfortunate. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So I think I'm going to go ahead and have our legal counsel, since you sent a letter to all of us and he got it as well. So he's going to have some comments.
Sure. Yeah, briefly, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kroll contacted me at the end of last week on this issue, and then he sent a letter again today. I told him at the time that we are researching it in my office to look at because what he says makes some sense, and it may in fact be legally correct. So that's the reason that staff has recommended the additional language that's shown at the bottom of the recommendation, and that's the last line where it says, tobacco retailer permit is not applied to renewal of existing ones, and then comma, or if staff determines that issuance of a permit is required by law. We haven't finished the research on Mr. Kroll's point of view, and we need to actually talk to him further as well. It may be that, assuming this ordinance is adopted, that we determine that in fact he's correct and the permit needs to be issued, in which case staff is requesting this language to allow the staff to issue that permit without coming back to the council. So that's the reason for the addition, and we'd like to proceed on that basis.
Go ahead, Councilmember Hilton.
Yeah, so I appreciate staff doing that, and I'm just speaking on myself. Like, this was not the intention to, obviously we knew that someone probably would get trapped in that legislative vortex, but you clearly have a vested, like you said, you clearly have a vested, application and interest, and obviously, there's people up here and at the staff level that are willing to take you on that. So I appreciate staff doing that, and hopefully you can get some clarity before you leave here by tomorrow. I don't want you to wait another 2 months. I appreciate also staff, the public health grant. That is something that we're using right now for technical advice on the tobacco retail permit. Make sure we utilize that entire grant before June. But, seeing Circle K get caught up in this, does make me leery of having this going on until January 3rd of 2027. This is just my personal view, is that if we give the city that much time to do this, that they're going to take all the way until January 3rd, 2027 to finish this. And that worries me, that of all the commercial industry that we're doing, especially on the east side and even downtown and other stuff, that we're going to have this problem come up again. And maybe they don't feel as comfortable because you guys have already opened. Maybe they don't feel as comfortable, or maybe they think, well, I don't want to go in front of the council or talk to anybody because it might just disrupt. I don't want them to think I'm a bad applicant. So I have concern about that, and hopefully if staff at the staff level, whoever's processing these business applications, and they take just a little bit of time to maybe staff it up a little bit, talk to the economic development director, talk to your manager, talk to the city administrator, talk to somebody. Don't just send an email back out to that applicant and just say, we're not accepting any applications today, bye. Like, don't do that. That would be one of the messages that I really want to try to get out. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Fugazzi.
So I'm really only comfortable with giving 6 months for some of the reasons. Actually, Councilmember Hilton actually touched on a couple of others that I hadn't thought of yet, which is other businesses in town, legitimate businesses in town that may want to establish themselves. Us making this more urgent is certainly somewhat important, and I know the clause in there helps us with that to some degree. In addition to that, I would like to see, and I don't know how this fits into this, and legal can maybe tell me this, that we somehow or another during this period of time that we're figuring out what we're going to do, that we commit that if anybody is selling tobacco products during this time without a TRP or without a business license or one or the other, whatever it is, that we somehow or another are able to, whether now or in the future, I don't know how it works out, restrict them for a period of time from being able to obtain one, even under the new regulations that we come up with. So we do not reward people with the ability to come back and apply in another way for a TRP and become a legal one if they are illegally selling tobacco, not illegal products, legal tobacco products, but selling them illegally in the city of Gilroy at this moment. So I don't know how we could possibly do that, but I am really concerned that we are allowing a lot of stuff to happen, and it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of recourse. And if we're going to move this forward, I'd like to do it sooner than later, and I'd like to see recourse, negative recourse for those individuals who are continuing to violate the law here in Gilroy.
Any other further comments at this point? Okay. All of these can just be done without.
If we're ready for a motion, my suggestion would be first do the motion number one, this on CEQA.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion on number one. I'll just say it right out. I'm looking for Motion and a second to determine this action is exempt from environmental review under California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines. So I'm looking for a first and a second, please.
I move.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Ramirez and a second by Councilmember Hilton. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Boso?
Yes, motion passes 6-0.
So the next motion is to authorize the city clerk to read the ordinance by title only and to waive further reading. So that motion requires a vote.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
I'll read the.
No, we need to vote on the motion.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Boso?
Yes.
The clerk will now read the motion, will now read the ordinance by title only.
An extension of an urgency interim ordinance of the City of Gilroy prohibiting the issuance of tobacco retailer permits citywide for a period not to exceed 10 months and 15 days.
Okay. I suggest now that actually we move on item 4, which is to adopt the ordinance extending the urgency interim ordinance for a certain period of time. The maker of the motion will have to put in some period of time with the additional language recommended by staff, and that motion also be deemed to review and approve the issuance of the 10-day report that's mentioned in item 3.
I'll move that with 6 months.
Okay, so can we have discussion on that before?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Is there a second? If there's a
I'll second it with a clarity. What is 6 months? Is that July?
6 months is in August.
August. Okay. I'll second it for the discussion.
is there any discussion on that from other council members? Any questions for staff?
The only thing that I would drop out of there is that, I mean, just as quickly as all these urgency ordinances coming up, if we run into it like, oh my gosh, this is too much of a tight deadline, staff can always bring it back. But I in this case, I would prefer to have a shorter runway.
Any comments?
No, I think, it's just a matter of, I agree, that if staff brings it back and says, it's too much, that we allow that to happen.
So that would be a situation where we get down the road 4 months or so, and they're going to come back with some findings that they're not going to make it in 6 months.
Then they have to bring it back for another vote, right?
Exactly.
Extension
Yeah.
can be granted. These urgency ordinances can last a total of 2 years maximum.
So, Councilmember Fugazi, it sounds like to me that you're okay with the language here, other than change it to 6 months instead of 15 months. Instead of
That is
2 months.
correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Adopt an order. Okay, so I'm going to help you out with that motion, if you don't mind, because there's additional language that we don't have in there yet because of the staff report. So let's see if I can get this right. So your motion is adopt an ordinance extending the urgency interim ordinance to prohibit the issue of or approval of any tobacco retailer permit citywide for an additional 10 months and 6 months and 15 days with the associated findings and the additional language recommended by staff. Did I get all that in there?
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion by Councilmember Fugazi and a second by Councilmember Hilton. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco? Yes. Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Boso?
Okay, and actually now, with that motion passed, you need to go back to 3, where the council needs to issue the 10-day report required by Government Code Section 65858D for the extension of this ordinance.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Hilton and a second by Councilmember Klein. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco? Yes. Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Boso?
Yes.
That completes this item.
Thank you very much. All right. Oh, man. Okay, moving on to item 6.1. Receive an update and provide direction regarding transient occupancy tax TOT rate increase ballot measure for the November 2026 election. Staff report, please.
Mayor, council members, I'll be giving you the report on this item, which is to receive an update and provide direction regarding the transient occupancy tax. A little bit of a memory jog going back to June of 2025 was when we adopted the current biennial budget. Included in that was a work plan item to review the TOT rate on the council work plan item. Subsequent to that, in September, we came before the City Council with the initial report on the TOT rate history in Gilroy, which is currently at 9% and has remained unchanged since 1983 and is one of the lowest in the county. Council provided direction to staff to proceed and also specifically explore a not to exceed rate structure for the November 2026 ballot. Subsequent to that, we have conducted an analysis and provided that in detail within the staff report. Generally speaking, anytime an agency is looking to place some sort of a revenue measure, one of the primary first things that you want to address is, whether it's going to be for a general tax for general purpose use, or is it going to be restricted for a specific purpose. Then in that sense, it would be a special tax. Both of those have different features, including voter approval thresholds. General tax requires majority, which is 50% plus one. A special tax, something similar to what the city of Gilroy pursued in 2024 for public safety, was a special tax, and that required 2/3 voter approval threshold. From a budget standpoint, general tax, which are generally for any general purposes, you have more discretion or flexibility on how you allocate those resources. And then, whereas special tax, again, are limited to that specific purpose that those taxes are being assessed. And then with respect to the election viability, which otherwise means, success rate, general tax generally has a higher success rate, primarily because the lower voter approval threshold, and whereas these special tax would not. So one of the points one of the recommendations tonight before you is for this council to give us that direction that we are to proceed with a general purpose tax for this for the TOT. Further, staff studied the statewide November 2024 local revenue measures that were on the ballot across the state with respect to lodging and hotel taxes. There is an Exhibit A that's included with the staff report that outlines the details, but this chart here summarizes that. So there were a total of 28 TOT measures statewide at the November 2024 ballot. Measures primarily passed. 82% of those 28 passed, 5 failed. The average yes vote or passage rate was 68.4%. All of the measures that were placed in 2024 were for general purpose tax, thereby requiring the 50% plus one vote, and the average being 68.4 obviously exceeds that. They were all structured, again, as general purpose, and with respect to the city's interest on whether they were a set rate increase, which means essentially the ballot question asked, today you're at 9%. Should a measure, be passed to increase it to 10%? So it's a fixed jump from one tax rate percentage to another. The majority of those, 82% of the ballot questions or initiatives in 24 were a set rate increase, so going from one tax rate to a specific tax rate. There were 4 rate structures that were in the not to exceed element, which is, again, something that this council directed us to explore. Is a measure, shall a measure be adopted which sets the cap of a TOT tax rate at, for example, 13%, and then council as a body has the discretion to adopt by resolution a rate that is 13% or something lower, and that can change year to year, whatever the policy is that the council determines is appropriate. In addition to that, we solicited input from our lodging operators. We did a informal sort of a brief survey which sought feedback regarding the potential changes, including the rate structure and the range of rates. We currently have 16 operators, and we received 9 responses. Majority of the respondents indicated that they are aware of the council's consideration. Majority did oppose the potential increase. Majority opposed the not to exceed tax rate structure. However, when prompted for a specific rate, what they would support, there were respondents indicated that anywhere between 10, 11, or 12% is what they would support, even though a majority indicated that they would oppose the potential increase. And the primary reason that kind of was stated was that it makes Gilroy less competitive compared to neighboring jurisdictions like Hollister and or Morgan Hill. In addition to the survey, we also solicited input from our partners at the Chamber of Commerce. Overall, they were supportive of a 2% increase, similar to something that would align us with our neighbors, Morgan Hill. They recommended that the funds be earmarked for a specific purpose, such as public safety. They do not recommend a cap anything over 2%, so anything beyond the 2% from the current rate. But there were comments in general that overall they recognize that Gilroy has one of the lowest TOT rate in the county, that it probably warrants some sort of an adjustment. We also partnered with Visit Gilroy. They assisted us with communicating the survey out and conducting outreach to engage the operators. While Visit Gilroy did not take a formal position, they did have informal discussions, and their board seemed to be split, with some opposing while others supporting, as long as it does not surpass, again, neighboring jurisdictions such as Morgan Hill. There is also a question that came up at the last September meeting for this council, so we are asking you again for a decision at this point as part of the recommendation. We were not able to confirm whether all of the 24 statewide ballots, whether they conducted some sort of a community survey or polling, otherwise known as polling. Most of them appear to advance based on, again, fiscal analysis by staff, lower revenue forecasts, council policy direction similar to what we're doing, as well as other stakeholder outreach. Menlo Park was the only agency that indicated, that cited the results from a formal community survey regarding services and potential measures, which resulted in them placing that ballot. So we, again, as I indicated, we are asking council to determine whether to conduct a survey or not. The other items we have included is, again, based on the 2024 statewide ballots. We pulled two examples for you, which had the highest ratings or highest passage rate. One is for an example of a set rate increase, which is Menlo Park. So that is the ballot question example there before you. Again, general purpose, so they have indicated to maintain critical services such as street pothole repairs, parks, recreation program, enhancing emergency preparedness, flooding, wildfire, police, etc. Shall the city of Menlo Park measure be adopted, raising the TOT tax from 12% to 15.5%, paid by only hotel lodging guests until ended by voters, providing an estimated $3.6 million annually that cannot be taken by Sacramento, including a citizen oversight. Again, I won't repeat that, but this is an example of going from one set rate to a specific rate. The other example before you is Delray Oaks, which has went for a not to exceed amount. Essentially, they are asking by increasing the TOT rate up to 4%, and what that would generate. With respect to the ballot questions, those are two. Those are the two examples that we provided. The city's ballot question can be crafted in a manner very similar, again, depending on which whatever we decide. So we are asking, if you have any input regarding the ballot question, please do give us that input today. But some of the parameters we do have is it cannot exceed 75 words. We have to state what the tax does, who pays it, how much it's going to generate, what it's going to be used for, general purpose, specific purpose, and the duration of it, of that measure as well. So with that concludes my presentation. We have the recommendations before you, which is to receive the update report. Again, we are directing that you concur and direct staff to pursue it as a general purpose TOT rate ballot measure. We are looking for direction whether or not to conduct a community survey to gauge support, and then provide feedback on drafting any of the ballot questions. Again, if you have feedback there. The last one's the most important, which is the directing staff to pursue a not to exceed tax rate structure and determining what that tax rate is going to be. On the bottom there, I have provided that the current average TOT rate in the county is 12%, and the average rate pursued at the 2024 statewide ballot was 13%. So we are recommending that should the council, consider a tax rate that it not pursue a TOT rate higher than the 13%, which is a statewide average that was pursued in 2024. Okay, happy to answer any questions.
Sure, thank you. I'm going to mix it up a little bit here. I'm going to mix up, so I'm going to go Ramirez, then Fugazzi, then Hilton.
Thank you, Harjo. Just a couple of questions. When you surveyed these 16, I'm assuming then you didn't reach out to any registered Airbnbs or VRBOs? Or...
Correct. They were, the responses did not include the Airbnbs.
Okay, but they would still be...
They would be subject to the
subject
TOT
to
rate,
this
yes.
as well. And then could you could the ballot measure do something, for example, move it up to 12% with also the, opportunity at the discretion of council to increase an additional 2% over time? I mean, can you combine both of them?
I think we have 75 words to play with,
Okay.
so I think we can certainly try to explore if that's possible. Generally, you want to have the ballot question be very clear to understand.
Okay.
Any kind of ambiguity, and it would probably subject it to not be approved.
Okay.
Or find success. Yeah.
And I know that. Well, I'll leave it at that for now.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
First of all, great work on this, Harjo. As always, a great report. I mean, the financial stuff that you do and the research, it's really appreciated. I was the one who brought this up when we were doing strategic planning last year. As I was looking at city budgets and income and whatnot before that, it occurred to me as I was looking through all of it how incredibly low our rate was, and then in doing back-of-the-napkin math, realized that, over the course of a number of years when we might have been able to attend this, there's, $1 million or whatever over 5 years, or maybe $2 million over 5 years, depending on how much, and it was just like, wow, we need to go after this. Then I read the really interesting presentation that Jolie from our law firm did many, many years ago on this exact matter, and she's considered an expert in this field, where I read about the not to exceed part, which I thought was quite clever and very apropos for a community who wants to have the most optimized economic development so they can move that where it needs to be, right? So if we happen to be in low times or we happen to want to compete more for whatever reason, we can lower it if we want to. And so to kind of touch on Councilmember Ramirez's question, by simply saying whatever the most is that we want to do, we put that in there, and then when we come back to council after it passes, hopefully, then we say, yeah, well, right now we're going to make it 11, or we're going to make it 12, or whatever it happens to be. And we can change that at any time and bring it up, but only up to whatever we set that ceiling for, and we got to be somewhat conscious about that. But as far as the people who were surveyed, you did audit them recently, right?
Correct.
And how the result of that audit, were they're all up to date and paid exactly how much they're supposed to?
No, we're still working through. We're giving them an opportunity to clear some of the deficiencies that were noted. Again, this was an audit that was conducted after over a decade, so we're very careful with respect to we want to make sure we get compliance, not only the audit period, but also moving forward. But yes, to answer your question,
how far in arrears do you think it is in aggregate?
I'd probably say, 50% have complied.
I mean, in dollars, how much?
Amount-wise, I think don't quote me on this, but I want to say about $200,000 for over a 3-year period.
Okay, yeah. So they're not going to be happy. They're never going to like this kind of a tax, right? But it's definitely something that is kind of a little bit of hidden extra revenue that we can get for the city and apply. Now, one of the things in terms of your questions here, with the ballot question, I really did like some of the examples that you gave where they mentioned things like public safety and whatnot, which are they're very triggering in a good way for voters to look at, as well as having it there that's charged to hotel guests. And again, if we are able to say this and have the room saying something that, as the majority out of town guests, right, or something like that, and we have the words to give, that's also really good because people realize it's somebody not here that's going to be paying for it. Go back to the last slide so I can give you at least the last feed. Oh, so yeah, so not to exceed, you got the ballot question. I don't think that we need a community survey personally. I think this is pretty straightforward in what other cities have done, and I think we have a good chance on it. Thank you for the work that you did.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yeah, I want to thank you again, too, for the work that you did on this and for especially bringing in our partners, Visit Gilroy and Chamber of Commerce, and really carrying their voice through that. I appreciate it. I am for the general purpose rather than pinning it towards like a public safety. I get that aspect. I too think that we don't need to go out to the community to survey them. I've been putting this out there, when I'm tabling and talking with community groups, and generally people understand that this is for out of towners. This is for that someone would come tour. I actually kind of like Menlo Parks. And that's what I threw you off there by laughing a little bit, but the last sentence where they said, this is not going to Sacramento. Like, I kind of like, it's cool. I mean, in a sense that sometimes when you do stay at places, you look at the bottom of the hotel tax and you're like, oh man, the county took some, state tourism took some. I don't know. It's just kind of cool to be able to list all the things. And really we're trying to do good work get them to, be here and go to our restaurants and commerce here. So if they see that we're fixing the potholes and we're doing all those things and we have beautiful parks that we're funding for this, so thank you for your tax. I like going in that direction too. Thanks.
Councilmember Bracco.
I'm against this. Every time you need money going after the taxpayer, I just think it's the wrong way to finance things. They're learning this in Las Vegas right now. Nobody's going there because when you get your bill, it doubled or tripled because of all the fees they put on it. and if people start calling around, oh well, Gilroy's way higher than Morgan Hill. I'll stay in Morgan Hill. Or Hollister's cheaper. I'll stay there. Right now, we're getting the reverse of that. We're getting people coming here because it's more expensive in Morgan Hill and it's more expensive in other cities and stuff around us because they're putting these fees on there. And there are people that check. I do. I don't go to Las Vegas anymore because it's insane. You pay a stadium fee, another stadium fee, an airport fee, tunnel fee. It's crazy. And the same way with Hawaii. Every time they need money, they go after the tourists. And I think it's a wrong message to send. I don't want to look to people visiting our city to have them pay for things that we need to work out in our budget. Thank you.
Councilmember Klein.
Yeah, and I thank you for your work on this and very clear with it. And so I appreciate that. I think the conversation is just bringing us up to par with our neighbors, I think, is how I look at it. And I like the flexibility to give council the ability to, if it's a downturn, to be able to pull it back or go forward with it. So I have no problem with that at this point. I think it's something we need to look at and consider it. So I'm good with it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Ramirez?
This is not a gotcha question, okay? So I just think your math is probably faster and better than mine. So do you have any idea roughly like what our average per night fee is?
I don't have that information. Do I have access to it? We could probably find out, but I don't have it tonight.
So you don't know like what the difference is between like Morgan Hill and Gilroy on an
average daily rate?
On an average daily rate?
I don't have that information with me.
Okay, so
we could look it up, yeah.
Assuming it's, I don't know, $150 a night somewhere here. I can't imagine it's, let's say it's $200 a night. And we increase it by 2%.
Does Frank know? Do we want to open up public comment?
You plan on doing public comment, Frank? Sure. You want to take a break, Kelly, and then let public comment
Sure.
go, and then you can ask.
Let's take a break.
Comment or question after.
Sure, yeah. I think you're just looking from a dollar perspective, what the change is
Yeah,
going to be.
like what kind of a change, is it going to be, $50 more a night, or is it going to be, $6 more?
Sure.
That's what I'm looking at.
That changes by season. It's, say, for example, December, I believe, was 120, but in May it was 130, 140. The average daily room in Morgan Hill is always a little higher than ours. Take it back a little bit, like our rate is, the TOT is 9%. So Morgan Hills is 10.5%. So, there's so many percentages thrown around here, so it's kind of easy to just kind of lose track. So, and then our T-bid is 2%. So the pass-through for a Gilroy, someone staying in a Gilroy hotel, is 11%. In Morgan Hill, it's 13% because of the TOT plus the T-bid. Visit Morgan Hill gets money there too. So it's not we're just talking about the TOT, but we're talking the TOT plus T-bid equals the total pass-through. And I've had my hotels tell me that that it's not necessary. They don't look at it as just for people from out of town, because a lot of Gilroy residents have their own family members stay in town. So if your family members are staying in town, they're paying that money too. But ultimately, it's only if it went up 2%, it would mean $2 or so a night, $2.50 a night, $2.60 a night. So it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things.
I've got your number for you too on the average cost. So it's $168 here in Gilroy, year-round kind of average. It's $208 in Morgan Hill.
And very seasonal.
Do you have further comments, Frank? Thank you.
I can answer any questions if you have them.
We have further public comment? Okay, well, let's jump to next public comment.
Maria?
Thank you.
I do suggest that you consider, when we buy vouchers for our own house, that's going to add to the nonprofit's cost to pay for these hotel stays.
Thank you.
Did that make sense?
A little bit.
Just to, again, I did the math. If we were to just use $150, excluding the assessments and such, your range you're looking for, again, if we were to pursue a 13%, it'd be anywhere from $2 up to $6 impact, using the 150 as an average. And then the other thing that our economic development director just pointed out is, I think, as you've indicated with your research, there's a difference of obviously the rate that gets assessed based on the type of property it is, how old it is, what the conditions of the property is. So Morgan Hill, as I understand, has a newer hotel that was recently built in the last decade, and also there's hotels that have heavily reinvested in improvements and such like that. So they may be able to charge a higher rate.
I have a comment or a question. So if I understand correctly, if we're comparing to Morgan Hill, it's 13 and 11 when you do the total pass-through. Morgan Hill, it's the total occupancy tax with that T-bid is
just the TOT. If you're looking at the TOT plus the T-bid, Morgan Hill's at 12.5%. So right now we're at 11%. And then again, if we were to increase it with the assumption of not to exceed 13, the maximum rate at any given time would be 13%. Plus, if the Gilroy T-bid still is in play and it's still around, then it would be a effective rate of 15%. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But to clarify again, we get to set that after it passes,
correct,
and it requires council approval to move it any time in the future.
On a yearly basis?
Whatever the council desires. It's a policy discussion to have with the council at that time. How often you want to review it, what triggers the review and such. And we'd be happy to come back. Again, those are all discussions after it passes, how we want to proceed on that.
Okay. Any other further questions or comments? So I'm going to just go down the list here, and anyone feel free to stop me if I get something wrong here. But this is not an action item, but we're looking for a thumbs up and give direction. So let me attempt this here. So first is receive the update. We've done that. Second is direct staff to pursue a general purpose TOT rate ballot measure. In general, it sounds like the most of us, sorry, not all of us, are interested in that. Right now there's 4, 5. Okay, so we have 5. We have a majority with that direction. Third, determine whether to conduct a community survey to gauge support. So far it looks like I have 4 or 5. Okay, so we have a majority direction on not gauging community support in the form of a survey. Fourth, provide feedback on the drafting the ballot question. So far, we've got some comments. We had 2 examples.
I like the Menlo Park one as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And finally, direct staff to pursue a not to exceed tax rate structure and determine the not to exceed rate. That's what we have not done yet. So let's hear some discussion really quick on the not to exceed rate.
I like staff's recommendation. I think it's, for me, the one that sits right whereas the max should be if somebody needs to go there, and it doesn't pull us out of line even if somebody were to go there from the general Bay Area, some of which have 15%. So I prefer where staff is recommended.
So to be clear, can you say that number? So everyone, 13. Not to exceed 13.
Yes.
Right. So, and that, to be clear, it could be 10 for 2 years. It could be 11. Okay. Okay, so.
8, it could be 0.
Yeah, Dion's going to go serve government. Nobody charges the max. That happens all the time.
Okay, item number 5 is direct staff to pursue a not to exceed tax rate of 13%. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, moving on to item 7.2. Pilot below market rate BMR preservation program update and overall BMR housing program overview. Staff report, please.
Not sure if I'm going to need these or not. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, our new City Administrator, City staff, and Gilroy community. My name is Christy Thomas. I'm the Housing and Community Services Manager. This item provides an update on the city's below market rate housing program with a focus on the pilot BMR preservation program approved by Council in March of 2025. Tonight's presentation is informational only and highlights a significant milestone achieved through the pilot program, as well as an overview of the broader BMR portfolio, including accomplishments, challenges, and next steps. The pilot below market rate preservation program was approved by City Council in March of 2025 as a tool to help the city preserve affordability when BMR homes come up for resale. Historically, the city has often lacked the funding necessary to exercise its purchase option, resulting in some units being sold out of the program. The pilot program addresses the gap by leveraging short-term loan funding from the Santa Clara County Office of Supportive Housing to enable the city to purchase BMR units that become available for resale. How the program works. When a below market rate homeowner decides to sell their home, they first notify the city's BMR program administrator. The administrator then works with the homeowner to complete inspections and an appraisal and brings the resale opportunity to the city. If the city has funding available, in this case a loan from the county, the city can step in to purchase the home. Next, the BMR program administrator and a realtor manage and schedule any repairs needed and then list the home for resale to income qualified households. To make these homes affordable, lower income buyers typically are supported with deferred down payment assistance from the county and the city. Interested buyers then apply through the city's BMR program administrator, and they go through an income qualification and lottery process before purchasing the home. Through this pilot program, the city successfully completed its first preservation transaction. The city purchased a low-income BMR senior home in April of 2025 with a county loan. Necessary repairs were completed, including a new roof, flooring, and some other minor interior improvements. The unit was professionally marketed. A lottery was conducted and escrow closed on January 12th, 2026. Just closed. The home was sold to an income-qualified senior household using a combination of county and city down payment assistance. The county loan will be repaid fully this month. I feel this transaction demonstrates that the preservation model works and can be replicated as additional opportunities arise. So now I'll transition to our overall BMR program. The city's overall BMR program spans more than 2 decades. The city assumed responsibility for most of the portfolio in 2016 following the closure of South County Housing and Neighborhood Housing Services Silicon Valley. The program has been administered by the current administrator Housekeys since 2017. There are approximately 300 affordable ownership units. Approximately 300 affordable ownership units were originally built across 12 developments throughout the city. Today, approximately 250 deed-restricted ownership units remain active in the program. These homes serve low and moderate income families, seniors, and individuals, and are governed by resale restrictions that aim to preserve long-term affordability. Most BMR units include long-term deed restrictions, generally 30 to 40 years, down payment assistance, a city purchase option during resale, and an equity sharing structure. Resale values are determined by formulas outlined in each unit's individual agreement. Because the portfolio was inherited from multiple sources, these agreements vary significantly, adding complexity to administration and compliance. Over the life of the program, more than 300 affordable ownership opportunities have been created. Over $3 million in down payment assistance has been provided. The program has helped the city meet multiple housing element objectives. During 2025, the program administrator and city staff have expanded outreach, improved data systems, hosted over 50 various informational sessions, and maintained daily service for homeowners and prospective buyers. Compliance monitoring remains a core function of the BMR program. In 2025, compliance packages were sent to all 100% affordable rental developments with the City of Gilroy agreement, with 62% completed as of November 25. In addition, outreach to ownership units resulted in 64% compliance response rate among homeowners contacted. Staff and program administrator continue working with the remaining property owners and apartment managers to complete compliance reviews and address any issues. The city's program administrator Housekeys created and manages a dedicated City of Gilroy BMR website that allows homeowners to submit service requests, prospective buyers and renters to create accounts and enter lotteries, and allows on-demand access to more than 20 informational and recorded videos. In 2025 alone, hundreds of new applicants were added to the city's ownership and rental interest list. Currently, there are 3,600 prospective Gilroy home buyer applicants and 1,700 prospective Gilroy rental applicants, demonstrating continued demand for affordable housing opportunities in Gilroy. Despite these accomplishments, the program faces several ongoing challenges, including historical staff turnover within the city and the administrator, creating inconsistency and program management decisions, administrative complexity due to varied resale agreements and loan structures, limited historical records from the inherited portfolio, financial limitations within the Housing Trust Fund, long-term attrition as units age out of affordability or are put up for resale and are not able to be purchased by the city, and instances of homeowner noncompliance. Each resale or refinance transaction requires a detailed, individualized review and significant staff oversight. Although the city has a program administrator, the BMR program remains highly staff intensive. City staff are involved in daily communication with homeowners, lenders, title companies, with policy and agreement updates, with compliance enforcement, with the loan portfolio reconciliation and state reporting, contract management, and retail coordination. This workload reflects the complexity and the scale of the inherited portfolio. Moving forward, staff plans to continue to partner with Santa Clara County Office of Supportive Housing to implement the pilot BMR preservation program as additional opportunities arise. Staff has also initiated a request for proposal for a BMR program administrator as the current contract expires on June 30, 2026. The item is presented for informational purposes only. Staff recommends that City Council receive a report on the pilot below market rate preservation program and an overview of the BMR housing program. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Christy. You know, we see you maybe once or twice a year, but clearly you're busy. And so I just wanted to just say thank you. And hopefully a lot of this report too can be incorporated in our annual progress report that's coming up soon. So that way you can really codify it, send it to the state, let them know that we are super busy. And yet, just like last year, there might be times where we can't complete all of our programs, but take a look at what we do complete and what we are, you know, moving forward. I think is important to codify that in there. My question is, how many BMR administrators are really out there still? That's still, I mean, when we put that RFP out there, is it going to be really competitive?
I sent emails to about 6 different RFP or BMR administrators that I know of, and that we kind of actually went out to all of the county to ask everyone, who is your administrator? Do you have one? And so I sent it to 6, and we received 2 back.
Awesome. Well, I'm good that that's going to be competitive then, because that keeps even our current, you know, people on their toes. So thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I just have a comment. I wanted to say that I know a lot of people who have entered into this program. You know, this is going back to the early 90s when we were younger, and especially some of my friends that started families earlier than the rest of us. And I know a lot of people, too, in particular, that I went to Glenview with. And these are folks that we all knew each other. All these couples all knew each other. They got into very modest, simple homes over off of the Hirosaki Mantelli area. And that was able for them to start their families. And eventually they were able to move on to bigger houses as their family grew. And one of those persons ended up working for Gilroy Fire Department for 25 years. And another person is a small business owner, contractor, and he still has his business in Gilroy today. So I just want to make that comment that, you know, getting people into these homes does other things to their lives as well. And so I'm in support of this. So thank you for that presentation.
Sure.
Okay, so everyone's okay with we're giving direction. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everyone.
All right. That ends it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, we're skipping that one. So I'm going to go on to item number 9, the city administrator's report. All right, sir.
Well, after one day.
The one-day report.
Yeah, that's right. All is good. I again extend my thanks to the council for including me in the team here. I look forward to serving the community, and I had a great first day. Thank you.
Thank you. City attorney's report.
I just want to say we're preparing a training for the council for early March on SB 707, which I'm sure you've all heard about, which is the biggest transformation of the Brown Act in the last many years. It's very complex and annoying, but we're going to try to make it understandable with Kim's help, because a lot of it falls on her. I also should make a comment about the last item on what Christie's doing. We get dragged into these deals every so often, every year or 2 or 3, and they're awful. And it's not her fault. I mean, they're awful because of the historical nature of these contracts from South County Housing, for example, where every contract seems to be different. It's hard to believe that that's the case, but that's what it seems like. Very hard to figure out, very hard to work on it, and as Christy says, highly staff intensive. So I'm just adding my comment that having someone like Christy on board who actually is doing all this work is wonderful.
Thank you. All right, that leads to adjournment 9:27. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they've changed the paper quite a bit since Greg was talking about it.
I think they change the paper every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems it's unbelievable.
Like if you read some of them now, like I read them and I know you do, they're almost printed